Chapter 2338 Spirit Puppet. Phone reading. Lu Yan was just swallowed by the strange stone, and after breaking out of the shell, he actually had his own body. No matter how you think about it, it's incredible. Doesn't this mean that the strange stone has the same effect as a living fruit? How outrageous is this? Lu Yan frowned slightly, and said softly, I seem to understand a little about my situation. I can't explain why, but I feel that my body is like a puppet. Puppet. Yang Kai raised his eyebrows. Lu Yan nodded lightly. Well, there are many formations and mysterious refining traces in my body, but these traces are natural and have a long history. They should have been refined by some powerful person many years ago. Yang Kai's expression moved slightly, as if he suddenly remembered something, and whispered, Spirit-level puppet. I heard Watching Si said before that the puppets of Chen Yizong are divided into several grades. In addition to the earth-level and heaven-level puppets he has seen, there is also a higher-level spiritual-level puppet, and it is rumored that the spirit-level puppets already have one. One's own spiritual wisdom can not only think independently, but can even gradually become stronger through practice. It's just that even when Chen Yizong was at its peak, there were not many spirit-level puppets, and with the decline of Chen Yizong, these spirit-level puppets didn't know where to go. Yang Kai didn't really believe it before, but now Lu Yan's situation can only be explained by a spirit-level puppet. The strange stone is not something that is naturally generated at all, but something refined by a generation of masters from the Cheni sect. It should be regarded as the prototype of a spirit-level puppet. Now it looks like this, and the final form is completed. In this way, it seems that the so-called spirit-level puppets are not born with intelligence, but can only be formed by fusing the soul of the living beings with the body of the puppet in a similar way. Thinking of this, Yang Kai suddenly became enlightened. I feel more and more that my guess is right. No wonder Yi Chong kept staring at Lu Yan when he mentioned the chance. With his superb eyesight, he can see at a glance that Lu Yan has no entity, but only a spirit-like form. There are prototypes of spirit-level puppets in the cave, which is undoubtedly the best choice for Lu Yan to live in. So to say, if he hadn't seen Lu Yan at that time, maybe he wouldn't have brought up this opportunity, and it was precisely because he had seen Lu Yan that he would give some pointers. But he didn't give too clear instructions. He probably felt a little bit reluctant in his heart. The strange stone was probably the prototype of the last spirit-level puppet in the world. Maybe no one would be able to refine it in the future. He naturally wanted to make such a treasure. Leave it to the descendants of Chen Yizong. This guy is a bit of a mother-in-law in doing things, dragging his feet. Yang Kai secretly cursed in his heart. But soon, he put this idea aside. No matter what, it is true that Lu Yan now has her own body. Although this body looks a bit weird, it is undoubtedly much better than her previous transformed body. Having a body and not having a body are definitely two different things. Lu Yan also seemed to be gradually joyful, forgetting all the inconveniences this small body would bring to her future life, and put both hands in front of her eyes and looked over and over again. There was a smile on his face. How is the fusion of your soul in this body? Are there any signs of instability? Yang Kai asked again worriedly. After all, the body of this spirit-level puppet is not what Lu Yan was born with, if the fusion of soul and body is not perfect. That is very likely to have serious consequences. Just like seizing a house, the reason why it is difficult to seize a house, and even the success rate is very low, is because of the degree of fusion between the foreign spirit and the body being seized. If a powerful soul wants to win over a warrior, it must find the body that is most compatible with its own soul. Even so, it may not be possible to win the house successfully, and if there is a slight mistake, the success will fall short. Hearing this, Lu Yan shook his head and said, there is no problem. I feel as if I was just born. This body is tailor-made for me. Isn't it just born? Yang Kai watched her break out of the strange stone with his own eyes. It was like regaining a new life. But what Lu Yan said made him feel relieved. He was afraid that the fusion of this body and Lu Yan's soul would not be smooth, but now it seems that those powerful people of Chen Yizong must have perfectly considered these problems when refining the strange stone, and solved it through some special means. Otherwise, they can completely refine a humanoid puppet, and then forcefully stuff the soul of the creature into it. It is precisely because of the experience of breaking out of the shell that Lu Yan's spirit and current body can be perfectly integrated. Yang Kai secretly admired it. Hee hee, I have a childhood too. Lu Yan smiled like a flower on his small face. Be careful not to grow up, it will be like this for the rest of your life. Yang Kai poured cold water on her. Lu Yan's face turned dark immediately, he was stunned for a while, and said freely, "Then I will admit it too." After a day of experimentation, Yang Kai finally saw the power of a spirit-level puppet body. Today's Lu Yan can actually enhance his own strength through cultivation, which was impossible before. The previous Lu Yan was just a form-changing body, and could only devour the genius treasures that fused with the fire attribute to enhance his strength. The Sun True Essence Lu Yan that Yang Kai got in the early years has been used, and the internal energy is almost consumed. But now, Lu Yan can absorb the aura of heaven and earth and use it for his own use. Not only that, but the current Lu Yan also has a powerful cultivation base of the third level of Daoyuan. This means that as long as she finds a suitable exercise for her, she will be able to practice and become stronger like an ordinary person, and one day she will be promoted to Emperor Zun. Now she is completely an independent individual, and the moment she was swallowed by the strange stone, the previous connection with Yang Kai was broken. Lu Yan has really gained a new life. Yang Kai was happy for her from the bottom of his heart. He originally planned to wait until his strength became stronger in the future to find Shungshan fruit and refine Shungshan pill to shape Lu Yan's body, but he didn't expect happiness to come so fast. The body of a spirit-level puppet was perfect to solve this problem. Yang Kai gave Lu Yan a space ring, and put a lot of source crystals, various healing pills, cultivation pills, and a few secret treasures that he didn't use but good grades, even the Nirvana Thunder Bead. Dabao is all used by her, because the Nirvana Lightning Bead doesn't need to be refined, it can be used only by pouring power into it, which is perfect for Lu Yan. This is the first time for Lu Yan to have his own space ring, and there are so many things that belong to him. He is very happy, he keeps playing with the space ring, enjoying himself. A day later, the two returned to the base platform. Yang Kai didn't intend to continue exploring this secret realm. He got a lot of benefits from this trip, so he accepted it as soon as he saw it, and there was no enmity with Chen Yizong. It is really unkind to do so. Restoring the base platform is not too difficult for Yang Kai. Within 2 hours, the sword marks on the base platform disappeared, and the whole platform took on a new look. Yang Kai took out a few source crystals and placed them in the grooves of the platform. In the middle, it was immediately activated by the source force. After the light flashed, the platform was empty. Chiba sect, located in the Nameless Valley. The previous scent of birds and flowers has all disappeared, and the place is in a mess, and traces of the war can be seen everywhere. There are many corpses of warriors lying in the valley, and the ground is stained red with blood. On the base platform, Yi Jinghen's face was as pale as paper, her tender body was covered with blood, and a wound with deep bone visible spread from the shoulder blade to the entire arm, which looked shocking. Beside her, watching Si, Kai Yu, Guizhu, I.O., Ji Canyon and others all looked tired, and there were more or less injuries on their bodies, among which watching Si was the most serious. It hurt the internal organs, and there was no blood on his face. At this moment, Chenyi sect encountered the greatest crisis in history. The deputy sect Shi Kengying rebelled, and cooperated with Chu Zeli, the lord of Tianzhou Palace, to break through the Chenyi sect's mountain protection formation in one fell swoop, massacring more than 1,000 disciples. Yi Hen led several elders to fight against the enemy. Outnumbered, dead and wounded, sect disciples could escape, and those who could not escape were either killed or arrested. A good sect only took half a day. It has almost become a ghost in the world, and the entire Chenyi mountain has traces of battles everywhere, and countless bones are buried. Even Watching Si and others were also involved. Although Watching Si had already touched the emperor's will, there was still a big gap between him and Chu Zi. In response, he took Kai Yu and others to hide in this nameless valley. Here, it has become the last bastion of Chiba sect. Outside the valley, led by Chu Zi, experts from various sects gathered together, rushing into the valley to watch. Is this the forbidden area of the noble sect? Chu Zi stood outside the valley with his hands behind his back, staring at the front with cold eyes, and asked aside. His face was not as rosy as before. Although he had an absolute advantage in the battle with Watching Si, he never thought that it was just a third-level Daoyuan that almost injured him. That woman is no ordinary warrior. It is very likely that he was born in some top sect, otherwise he would not have such a strong background. If there is anyone Chu Zi fears the most right now, it is undoubtedly Watching Si. He was afraid of provoking someone who shouldn't be provoking, but now this situation can only be eradicated. Otherwise, once the news gets out, let the sect behind the woman know that Tianzhou Palace is powerless, so he led people all the way to chase here, but was blocked by many magical formations in the valley. After trying to attack a few times, he was shocked to find that the formation in this valley was not something he could crack. So he could only rush aside and ask. Shi Kangying heard the words. With a flattering smile on his face, he bowed and said, "Palace Master Weicho, this place is indeed forbidden by our sect. Since past dynasties, no one except the sect master has been allowed to set foot here." "You can't either." Chu Zi glanced at Shi Kangying indifferently. Shi Kangying said awkwardly, "I've never been in." To be continued. Chapter 2339. Not much time. From now on, you can come in and out as you like. Chu Zi said lightly. Shi Kangying was overjoyed when he heard the words, knowing that Chu Zi really treated him as the lord of Chenyi sect. Of course, this was on the premise that he bowed his head and proclaimed himself a minister. If Shi Kangying dared to have any other intentions, Shi Kangying would definitely die a miserable death. Chu Zi's promotion to Emperor Senior Realm is not good news for any sect, but for Shi Kangying, saving his life is the most important thing. The powerhouses of several sects such as Tianji Palace also stood behind Chu Zi. Seeing him bossing around and pointing Zhongshan, they felt a burst of envy and jealousy in their hearts. This is the authority of Emperor Zunjing. Dare not take a breath. These powerhouses were all secretly resentful. How come it was not him who was promoted to the Emperor Senior stage, but the old fellow Chu Zi? At this moment, an old man hurried forward suddenly, cupped his fists behind Chu Zi and said, "Palace Master, Yi Hen doesn't want to reveal the way to enter the valley." Before Chu Zi could speak, Ruan Hongbo from Tianji Palace began to curse. "Old man Yi Hen is too ignorant of flattery. Palace Master Chu is kind enough to not take his life. He is extraordinarily merciful. He is so stubborn." Mu Guan of Baiyun Tower also said. "That's right, Yi Hen toasts and doesn't eat fine wine. Palace Master Chu doesn't need to be polite with him. I don't believe that we can't break through the formation of this valley." While speaking, he put on a posture eager to try. Chu Zi said indifferently, "Do you know that Chenyizong has been inherited for tens of thousands of years? Even some of the top sects in the southern region today may not be as long as Chenyizong in terms of inheritance time. In this valley it was laid down by a powerful person tens of thousands of years ago, and even I have no confidence in breaking it, so you just want to do it." He had a mocking look on his face, but Mu Guan and the others didn't dare to refute at all, they could only keep laughing. "What does Sect Master Shi think?" Chu Zi turned to look at Shi Kangying and asked. Shi Kangying pondered for a while, and said in a deep voice, "Yi Hen is a tough guy. She has worked with him for so many years. I know his temper and character well. Don't say that torture him is really killing him. It is absolutely impossible for him to reveal the method of breaking the formation." "Oh, Sect Master Shi thinks so highly of Yi Hen." Chu Zi looked at Shi Kangying in surprise. Shi Kangying said seriously, "It's just a stubborn old man. If not for that, my Chenyi sect wouldn't have fallen here." "Okay, I'm not interested in your Chenyi sect, you just talk about how you can break the formation." Chu Zi interrupted him impatiently. Shi Kangying said, "Since there is no way to start from Yi Hen, we might as well try to find breakthroughs from others." The words came to this point. He smiled treacherously, and said, "Yi Hen and his daughter have been dependent on each other for so many years, and their relationship with each other is not so good." Hearing this, Chu Zi turned his head and glanced at him with a deep light in his eyes. Shi Kangying's heart skipped a beat, thinking she said something wrong. A cold sweat broke out from his stare. When he was feeling uneasy, Chu Zi suddenly smiled and said, "Sect Master Shi, Yi Jinghen seems to be the one you grew up with, right? You don't have any compassion." Shi Kangying looked solemn, and said, "Little girl doesn't know the heights of heaven and earth, and she dares to stand in the way of Palace Master Chu's great cause. Naturally, she should pay a price. It is precisely because she is her elder that she wants her to grow up early. This it is also a test of her heart. So, are you doing it for her good?" Chu Zi raised the corner of his mouth with a mocking smile. Shi Kangying said sternly, "She has worked so hard, I hope she can understand." Ruan Hongbo and the others were listening, all of them broke out in cold sweat, and looked sideways at Shi Kangying frequently, as if they didn't know Shi Kangying's true face until this moment, and at the same time felt sad for Yi Hen raising such a monster by his side, but changed his mind thinking about it. "Now that I and the others are enemies and not friends with Chiba sect, there is no position and no need to sympathize with him. Very well, I'll leave this matter to you. I hope Sect Master Shi won't disappoint me." Chu Zi smiled lightly. She must do his best. Shi Kangying clasped his fists and said in a deep voice. Immediately afterwards, he waved his hand to the back and shouted, "Bring him up." In the blink of an eye, Yihen and several high-ranking sects who had been following him were taken out of the valley. As soon as they came here, they naturally spurned and insulted Shi Kangying. Their eyes were red, and they wished to kill Shi Kangying. But his expression didn't change and his heart didn't beat, as if he didn't hear it. He stood there calmly and yelled from the valley, "Nephew Yi Xian, open your eyes and take a closer look. Who are these people around me?" Quote. His voice was so loud that it spread throughout the wilderness, apparently reaching the depths of the valley. Not long after the words fell, the scenery in the valley suddenly changed. In the blink of an eye, the phantom array that had lasted for tens of thousands of years was dispelled, and the real valley scenery appeared in everyone's field of vision. Looking up, the figures of Yi Jinghan, Kai Yu and others were clearly discernible, only a few hundred meters away from Shi Kangying and others, and beside these people, there was actually a base platform. Chu Zi narrowed his eyes, staring at the platform, and the next moment he whispered, "Space Magic Circle." With his eyesight, he could naturally see that the base platform was a space magic circle, and it was ancient and desolate, and it had been around for a long time, but what he couldn't figure out was that there was such a thing in this valley. Where is this magic circle connected to? Chu Zi couldn't help looking suspiciously at Shi Kangying. Shi Kangying also had a dazed expression on his face, although he always knew that this valley was a forbidden area of Chenyi sect, and only the suzerain could set foot there, but he didn't know what was inside this forbidden area. He had always thought that this forbidden place was the burial place of the past lords of the Chenyi sect, that's why he didn't allow others to enter, but now it seems that he was wrong. This forbidden place seems to be connected to this other place. Sensing Chu Zi's gaze, Shi Kangying smiled coyly, and said, "This is the first time she has seen this, so I don't know what mystery is hidden in it." Chu Zi snorted coldly, obviously extremely dissatisfied, but still said nonchalantly, "The space magic circle should be damaged, otherwise these people would have fled here long ago." Shi Kangying hurriedly said, "Palace Master Chu's gaze is like a torch." Unexpectedly he thought of this level. When the two were talking, Yi Jinghan had already seen Yi Hen, who was forced to kneel on the ground outside the valley. The power to resist. Yi Hen was already old, and now he was being tortured like this. It was even worse, coughing up blood non-stop. People couldn't bear to look directly at him. "Daddy," Yi Jinghan yelled tremblingly. 2 lines of tears flowed down her cheeks. Her heart was so painful that she could hardly breathe. When watching Si and the others saw this scene, they also had ugly faces and felt pity in their hearts. After Yi Jinghan finished shouting, she looked at Shi Kangying angrily and said, "You let my father go." Shi Kangying grinned, and said, "Martial nephew, you're a big girl now, uncle doesn't talk nonsense with you. It's not impossible if you want me to let your father go, but you should know what you want to do." At this point, his expression darkened, and he said in a low voice, "Remove the formation in this valley, and my uncle will not die if he walks around them." Before Yi Jinghan could speak, Yi Hen shouted loudly, "Jinghan, no matter what, the formation cannot be dispelled." Shi Kangying's face darkened, and she stretched out her hand to pat Yi Hen's body, completely imprisoning him, even losing the ability to speak. Seeing this, Yi Jinghan immediately shouted coquettishly, "Don't hurt my father. Uncle Shi, you are also a member of the Chenyi sect, and you are also the deputy lord of the Chenyi sect. Why did you do such a thing? How did Dad treat you badly in the past? You let him go. I beg you to let him go." She begged heartbreakingly, and the scene was extremely miserable. Shi Kangying was unmoved, but shook her head regretfully, and said, "Uncle Shi also wants to save your father's life, but Uncle Shi can't help himself now, I hope you can understand." While speaking, he strolled behind an elder of the second level of Daoyuan, put one hand on the elder's head, looked at Yi Jinghan from a distance, and said calmly, "Nephew, you can see clearly. Before opening that formation, Master Uncle will kill 1 person for every 10 breaths." When the words fell, he urged the source of power in his palm, and the elder Chenyizong, who was restrained in place, didn't say a word. His entire head burst directly, and his body fell stiffly on the ground. He suddenly hit the killer, not only made Yi Jinghan pale and look desperate, even Ruan Hongbo and the others were startled, secretly horrified. After all, the person he killed was the elder of the Chenyi sect, a fellow sect with whom he had known for countless years, and had always worked together, but now he killed him without changing his face, which shows how cruel, vicious Shi Kangying is. Only Chu Zi showed a satisfied smile. "Uncle Master, you don't have much time, you have to think carefully." After killing 1 person, Shi Kangying came behind another elder, put her hand on that elder's head as well, and looked at the elder quietly without saying a word. With Yi Jinghen. Yi Jinghen bit her red lips tightly, her lips were bitten open, and blood flowed out. She stared at Yi Hen, but Yi Hen kept shaking her head at her, knowing that her father did not agree with her unraveling the formation. Yi Jinghen was suffering a lot, although she knew that unraveling the formation would never end well, and it would not improve her father's current situation, but she felt guilty when she thought of the elder who was killed just now. She always felt that the elder died because of herself and was killed by herself. That elder also saw her from a young age, and loved her very much. He often played with her when he was young, and taught her how to practice when he grew up, but now he just died in front of his eyes. She could only watch helplessly, unable to help. Seeing the time slowly passing by, Shi Kangying wanted to kill again. Yi Jinghen suddenly became distraught, not knowing what to do. And at this moment, Shi Kangying suddenly smiled treacherously, and moved his hand away from the head of the second elder, and placed it on the head of the person next to that elder. Yi Jinghen's face turned pale all of a sudden, her delicate body trembled violently. To be continued, Carrot. Chapter 2340 He is dead. Phone reading. Shi Kangying's big bloody hand was placed on Du Xian's head impressively at this moment. Yi Jinghen and Du Xian were childhood sweethearts, they grew up together, they practiced together, and they have a deep relationship. They have already regarded each other as the other half of their lives, but the road has not yet been accomplished, and the time to get married has not yet come. The two also secretly agreed that when both of them were promoted to Emperor Senior Realm, Du Xian would propose marriage to Yi Hen, and Yi Hen agreed to the marriage. They believed that Yi Hen would definitely not disagree at that time. What Yi Jinghen didn't expect was that before this day came, her lover would be killed in front of her eyes. No, Uncle Shi, don't. Yi Jinghen's body softened, and she knelt down on the ground, begging bitterly. Shi Kangying's face was cold and resolute, unmoved. She said indifferently, "You can unravel this formation, and you can say anything." Yi Jinghen suddenly became disoriented. Unlocking the formation is tantamount to exposing the biggest secret of Chenyiezong to the enemy, allowing the enemy to explore in and out, but if it is not unlocked, judging by Shi Kangying's brutal method just now, Du Xian will die soon. She didn't know how to choose at all. Yeji, don't pay attention to him, this old dog is already crazy. Du Xian shouted suddenly, even if you untie the formation, they won't let us go. Brother, take a step first, you must be well, I will never let you down in my next life. When the words fell, his source power surged violently, reaching a level that made him uncontrollable in an instant. HMPH. Shi Kangying snorted coldly, stretched out her hand and patted Du Xian heavily on the shoulder. The violent source force instantly went silent and returned to calm. Du Xian was immediately dumbfounded. He couldn't even blow himself up in this situation, and he completely became a fish on the chopping board. Yi Jinghen over there was also taken aback. She knew exactly what Du Xian wanted to do just now, but when she saw that Shi Kangying had imprisoned Du Xian's cultivation, she felt a little grateful to the traitor Shi Kangying in her heart. If he hadn't acted in time, Du Xian would have exploded in front of her nose. Come on, Yi Jinghen is sure that she cannot bear such a result. This incident completely broke Yi Jinghen's psychological defense. Even though she knew that there would be no good end to unraveling the formation, she still held a sliver of extravagant hope in her heart, looked at Shi Kangying with tears in her eyes and said, "Uncle, it's fine for me to untie the formation, but, you let them go. They are not members of my Chiba sect, and this matter has nothing to do with them." What she was referring to was naturally Caillou and the others. Hearing what she said, Yi Hen slowly closed his eyes. Knowing that this time is really helpless, if Yi Jinghen stays there, maybe there is still a glimmer of life, but if he unlocks the formation, the end will be very miserable. It's just that now he can't move, he can't even speak, and he can't stop it at all. Du Xian also desperately shook his head at Yi Jinghen, but unfortunately it didn't work at all. Shi Kangying said coldly, "Uncle Master can't decide on this matter." As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Zi said generously, "Okay. I will agree to your request, and you just obediently untie this formation." "I believe you are a ghost." Watching Si murmured softly. She didn't know that Chu Zi was just talking nonsense, but in fact, he had no intention of letting them go. In the valley, Yi Jinghen wiped away her tears, looked at Qiyu and the others and said, "It's me, Chenyiezong, who has troubled you. I will open the formation later, and you will rush out immediately. I will find a way to delay it for a while." Watching Si frowned, and replied, "Miss Yi also come with us." She also knew that Yi Jinghan was being forced to do nothing now. The lives of her father and lover were in his hands. Naturally, she couldn't just watch, so watching Si didn't mean to blame Yi Jinghan. It's just, Chu Zi is still here. She was not sure that she could escape from this place with Caillou and others. If she was the only one, there might still be 70% to 80% hope. She really couldn't defeat Chu Zi, but she still had some chances to escape. But Caillou and others are only at the first level of Daoyuan, and Chai Hu is only at the third level of Void King. It is undoubtedly a dream to escape in front of so many masters. Watching Si secretly decided that no matter what, she must keep Caillou and the others safe, and wait for Yang Kai to come out. Facing Hua Qingxi's invitation, Yi Jinghan just smiled bitterly and shook her head slowly. Hua Qingxi knew that she had made up her mind, so she could only sigh and stop persuading her. Don't do it yet, Shi Kangying urged impatiently. The big hand placed on Du Xian's head hesitated, as if it would kill Du Xian at any moment. Yi Jinghan's delicate body trembled, and she didn't dare to delay any longer. Her hands flew up and quickly formed seals. With the flying out of the imprint, all kinds of traps and phantom formations in the valley were untied layer by layer. Chu Zi released his spiritual thoughts and paid close attention. When he realized that all the formations in the valley had been untied, he couldn't help but chuckled, and said, "Niece Yi knows the times and is a hero, much wiser than your father." But after Yi Jinghan untied the formation, her whole body was weak for a while, as if she had completely collapsed. She just softly shouted, "Go!" After her words fell, Hua Qingxi and the others met their eyes, and they were about to flee from this place immediately. But before they could take any action, the base platform hummed for a while, and a wave of clearly identifiable space power suddenly rose and fell, and then, the base platform emitted a dazzling light. What? Shi Kangying, who had already rushed towards Yi Jinghan and the others, paused in place, staring blankly at the basic platform, as if she never thought that the platform would be in operation at this moment, and it looked so good. Someone sent it over. Chu Zi's eyes were also bright, and he stared there for a moment. When he saw the base platform earlier, he thought it was damaged. If not, why didn't Yi Jinghan and the others escape? Instead they were trapped in the valley. But what he saw now was not what he thought. If someone transmits it from another place, doesn't that mean the platform is good? Who is coming, and where is the platform connected? Different from the blankness of Shi Kangying, Chu Zi and others, Yi Hen, who had been looking ashen when he saw the light, stared his eyes wide and his body trembled uncontrollably. The entrance to the secret realm, fixed. The entrance to the secret realm, which had been sealed for tens of thousands of years, was restored at this moment today. The lords of the Chenyi sect in the past all took it as their own responsibility to restore the entrance to the secret realm. They spent all their efforts and energy, but none of them succeeded. However, he witnessed the moment when the entrance to the secret realm was restored. For a moment, Yi Heng couldn't help feeling that he would have no regrets even if he died, and he couldn't help but giggled. As long as the entrance to the secret realm is repaired, the inheritance of Chenyi sect will not be cut off, and there will be a chance to re-glory the sect. But thinking of the current situation of himself and Chenyi Yizong, Yi Hen's heart sank to the bottom of the valley. He naturally knew who had repaired the entrance to the secret realm. After all, only Yang Kai had entered it these days. Who else could there be besides him? While he lamented that his daughter had the right vision, he was also secretly annoyed that the heavens did not give Chenyi Yizong much daytime. If there are a few extra days, Yi Hen is fully sure that he can obtain the lost exercises and secret techniques in the secret realm, so that he can drive those prefecture-level puppets in the main peak square. With the help of those prefecture-level puppets, Chenyi Yizong will not be reduced to the current situation. Even if it is not the opponent of Chu Zi and others, they will be able to fight for both sides. But in fact, the entrance happened to be repaired at this time. Now not only the Chenyi sect is also finished, but the tens of thousands of years of inheritance will also be finished, and it will fall into the hands of others. He felt that there was only one Yang Kai, and he was powerless to stop Chu Zi from the Emperor Senior stage. Just as he was thinking wildly, two figures gradually appeared on the base platform. One of them was Yang Kai, and the other was a little girl who looked like 7 or 8 years old. And this little girl had fiery red hair. Her long hair is almost scattered around her ankles, smooth as a waterfall, and extremely eye-catching. Not only that, she is also wearing an adult's clothes, loose and nondescript, the clothes look like Yang Kai's, but such decorations are not damaged her beauty, on the contrary, added a touch of playfulness and cuteness, making people reluctant to look away at a glance, especially that pink little face, which made people feel the urge to pinch. When the two appeared, they obviously hadn't figured out the situation in front of them, until they smelled a faint smell of blood. Yang Kai's expression sank, and his spiritual mind swept out. In an instant, his face became ugly. He saw that Kai Yu and the others were all wounded and hid on the side of the formation base platform. He saw Yi Hen and Du Xian imprisoned in the same place. His breath was sluggish. He saw Shi Kengying flickering, hesitating, and he saw Luo Jin glaring at him with hatred and resentment in his eyes. Anger. He also felt the aura of a strong emperor senior realm. Young Master Yang. As soon as watching Si saw Yang Kai appearing, she knew that the savior was coming. She couldn't help but heaved a sigh of relief, and said with a wry smile, "If you show up later, we will be finished." Young Master Yang, I'm sorry. Yi Jinghan looked at Yang Kai anxiously. It's me, Chenyi sect, who has troubled you all. After a pause, she said urgently, take them and run quickly. Although she has seen Yang Kai's attack and knows that Yang Kai's strength is not bad, but there is a strong Emperor Senior Realm here, and she thinks that Yang Kai's strength can compete with Emperor Senior Realm. Hearing her words, Yang Kai looked away from Chu Zi, raised the corner of his mouth, and said, this situation is a bit complicated. Although he still doesn't quite understand how all this is formed before him, it is already clear at a glance who is the enemy and who is the friend. That guy hurt you? When Yang Kai asked this, he glanced at Chu Zi. Watching Si was already at the peak of Daoyuan realm, and no one present could hurt her except Chu Zi. Yes. Watching Si nodded lightly. He seems to be the palace master of Tianzhou Palace. He has just been promoted to Emperor Senior stage, and his cultivation base is not stable. Otherwise, you will not be able to see Sister Hua. Very good, anyone who dares to hurt me will die. Yang Kai sneered. As soon as this remark came out, a group of people all looked at him like an idiot. To be continued. Chapter 2341 Capture and Cook. Phone reading. A source of Tao is so brash, saying in front of the Emperor Senior that he is dead, is this insane? Shi Kengying, Yi Hen and the others all had strange expressions. Web links open black lens bracket. Only watching Si knows that Yang Kai is not joking. Although Yang Kai is not Emperor Senior Realm, he definitely has the strength to fight against Emperor Senior Realm. Not to mention, that Dharma body is enough for Chu Zi to have a headache. If he and Yang Kai fight together again, they may not be able to share the same status with Chu Zi. So after Yang Kai appeared, watching Si settled down with one heart. Although Yang Kai's cultivation base is a little lower than hers, watching Si is definitely not his opponent. She had never seen a man as shining as Yang Kai. No, watching Si suddenly discovered that Yang Kai's cultivation was not a small level lower than her own, but on the same level as her own. When did he advance to the third level of Daoyuan? Watching Si was stunned. It didn't seem long since he was promoted to the second level of Daoyuan last time. He made a breakthrough in such a short period of time. How could this guy practice as easily as eating and drinking? Although the heart is shocked, but more is joy. Yang Kai's strength has increased, which means that it is more beneficial to the immediate situation. Hee. Chu Zi suddenly chuckled. Although Yang Kai's words were not loud, he heard them clearly. A playful smile appeared on his face, and he looked at Yang Kai and said, the boy doesn't know the heights of the sky and the earth. Want to take my life? Luo Jin gritted his teeth and shouted in a low voice, Master Chu, this guy is the one who hurt your son. He is Yang Kai. Chu Zi's face darkened. Even Mu Zheng from Beiyun Tower and Ruan Hongbo from Tianji Hall looked at Yang Kai angrily. Mu Guan from Beiyun Tower and K Tian from Tianji Hall were all Yang Kai, so these two people will come to Chenyizong to provoke troubles this time, and they are all here for Yang Kai, so they are naturally jealous when their enemies are in front of them. That's right, it's him, Luo Jin replied bitterly. The experience of that day in the city lord's mansion is the shame of Luo Jin's life, and he will never forget it forever. Although Yang Kai spared his life at the last moment and did not kill him, the hatred is still in his throat. Don't report your displeasure. In his dreams, he wanted to kill Yang Kai to avenge his shame. After learning of Yang Kai's identity, all the strong men from the various sects were murderous, looking at Yang Kai as if they were looking at a dead person, but Chu Zi didn't move, and they didn't dare to act rashly. Are you really Yang Kai? Chu Zi seemed to want to confirm, standing on the spot and yelling at Yang Kai. Yang Kai had a disdainful expression, and sneered, what kind of onion are you? You are also worthy to ask this young master's name. His expression was extremely rampant, as if he didn't pay attention to Chu Zi at all. Chu Zi's expression was flat. He didn't get angry because of this, he nodded lightly and said, very good, I heard that you have refined a furnace of Tai Miao Dan in the land of 4 seasons. Yang Kai raised his brows, and said thoughtfully, so you are a drunkard who doesn't care about drinking, you want 2 wonderful pill. Sorry, it's gone. Chu Zi said, it's okay, I didn't expect to get the Tai Miao Dan from you, but I heard that you once took one. After I captured you and boiled it, there should be a trace of the medicinal effect of the Tai Miao Dan. As soon as this statement came out, even Ruan Hongbo and the others who were on the same front as Chu Zi all changed their complexions. Chi looked at him, as if he couldn't believe that he said such a thing. They really never thought about boiling the people who took the Tai Miao pill to obtain a trace of the medicinal effect of the Tai Miao pill. Thanks to Chu Zi for coming up with such an idea, but think about it carefully. But somewhat reasonable. Tai Miao Dan has powerful medicinal effects. After taking it, most of the medicinal effects will be immersed in the blood and meridians, and will be gradually refined by warriors as time goes by. Therefore, the sooner you take Tai Miao Dan, the better. Back then, the girl from Bafengmen took the Tai Miao pill at the first level of Daoyuan. Although she was forced to submit by Luo Yuan, she can perfectly exert the effect of Tai Miao pill. As long as her aptitude is not too bad, and she will practice harder in the future, the hope of being promoted to the throne is definitely much greater than others. Chu Zi is already in the Emperor Senior realm, obviously he doesn't need Tai Miao Dan, he probably did this for Chu Yu. But when I think of the medicinal effect of Tai Miao pill, I have to drink a pot of human broth first. Ruan Hongbo and the others turned pale all of a sudden, their stomachs twitched continuously, and felt a little sympathy for Chu Yulai in their hearts, and they didn't know if it was how will Chu Yu react when he learns the truth in the future. Want to boil this young master? Yang Kai laughed dumbfounded, and retorted, you are also a little ignorant. The boy is quite rampant. Chu Zi's eyes flashed coldly, and he snorted coldly, but if there is no corresponding strength matching, this kind of rampantness will only seem childish and ridiculous. While speaking, he suddenly stretched out a hand and slammed towards Yang Kai. The sky was suddenly filled with wind and clouds, and a huge hand made of energy slammed down, covering a huge area. Chu Zi obviously didn't care about the life and death of others, and he didn't even care about Yang Kai's life or death. To him, it doesn't matter whether Yang Kai is dead or alive, he just needs to be brought back to cook. The extreme trick suddenly appeared, and the sky became dark all of a sudden. Yi Hen, Du Xian and the others were about to burst into tears, trembling all over, but they could only watch helplessly, unable to rescue them at all. The fiery red light burst out suddenly, and the scorching breath permeated instantly. A delicate and small figure soared into the sky, and greeted the big energy hand directly. The two collided in one place in the blink of an eye, and Lu Yan groaned, and the whole person was photographed, but under her impact, the powerful hand also dissipated in an instant, and the dark sky suddenly became clear. Shish! A piercing sound came out at the same time, and under the flickering figure, before others could see clearly what was going on, the figure had returned to the base platform. It was Yang Kai who took advantage of Lu Yan's attack, flashed to Yi Hen, Du Xian and the others and brought them back. He is proficient in space power. This shot was caught off guard, and when Chu Zi reacted, it was too late to stop him, and when he looked around, all the hostages were rescued by Yang Kai. Chu Zi's face suddenly darkened, and he looked at Yang Kai and the little girl who was slapped on the ground with a frown. That's all for Yang Kai, Daoyuan 3rd layer cultivation base, although the speed is very fast, but he hasn't put it in his eyes, but the little girl in nondescript clothes actually took a blow from him, which made him a little bit can't believe my eyes. He couldn't feel Lu Yan's cultivation before, but at that moment, he clearly felt that Lu Yan had the strength of the peak of Dao origin realm. Not only Chu Zi couldn't believe it, but everyone present was stunned. They didn't expect that it wasn't Yang Kai who met Chu Zi's move, but a 7 or 8-year-old girl. How can this little girl survive if she takes a blow from a strong Emperor Senior realm? Didn't you see that she was slapped into the ground by Chu Zi's palm, and a small human-shaped pothole appeared on the ground? At this moment, she is afraid that she has been completely smashed to pieces. All of a sudden, everyone cast contemptuous glances at Yang Kai, even an enemy like Ruan Hongbo disdained Yang Kai's actions, thinking that this guy is really a bit of a beast, and let such a little girl go to die on his own initiative. It hurts to death. The crisp child's voice mixed with overwhelming anger came from the human-shaped pothole. The next moment, a small head popped out. Zhang jumped out and patted the dirt on his body. Not dead. Luo Jin was dumbfounded for a moment. He didn't expect that this little bastard would survive being hit head-on by Chu Zi. Not only was she not dead, she seemed to have no scars at all. What kind of monster is this? Yi Jinghen, Hua Qingxi and the others were also dumbfounded, staring at Lu Yan in a daze. Suddenly, Hua Qingxi's expression changed, and he asked hesitantly, Sister Lu Yan. When Lu Yan made a move just now, Hua Qingxi sensed her aura. The two of them and Zhang Ruoxi had been cultivating in mysterious Shaoji, so they were very familiar with each other. Moreover, looking at it now, this little girl's demeanor and appearance were clearly related to Lu Yan's. They are 70% to 80% similar, but they are much younger. She didn't pay much attention to this little girl before. After all, she didn't have so much leisure time at the moment of life and death, but now after realizing that this little girl might be Lu Yan, Hua Qingxi could no longer restrain the shock in her heart. It's just, how is it possible? Lu Yan turned around, showed a sweet smile at Hua Qingxi, and said crisply, Sister Hua. It's Lu Yan, that's right. It is definitely Lu Yan. Hua Qingxi's beautiful eyes widened in an instant, and she gasped and said, how did you become like this? Lu Yan timidly said, Master said he likes little girls the most, the younger he is the more he likes them, so I. Hua Qingxi's beautiful eyes widened, glaring at Yang Kai. Yang Kai was sweating like a waterfall, stretched out his hand to wipe it off and said, Don't listen to her nonsense, this is simply nonsense. This time, even Kai Yu and Yi Jinghen cast gazes at Yang Kai. Beast, shameless, scum, each of the three women uttered a sentence, every word was heartbreaking, and Yang Kai's face turned green. Hua Qingxi snorted coldly, From now on, you must stay by my side, never be alone with him, Sister Hua will protect you. Thank you, Sister Hua. Lu Yan showed a pure smile. Are you all right? Did you get injured just now? Although she felt that Lu Yan was in good condition, Hua Qingxi couldn't help asking. She had fought Chu Zi before and knew how powerful this guy was, even if she was no match for her. Lu Yan was hit by a trick, which naturally made people worry. I'm fine. Lu Yan smiled slightly, but there was no smile in his eyes, only biting coldness, and he gave Chu Zi a cold look when he was speaking. Seeing her eyes, Chu Zi felt a sudden feeling of uneasiness in his heart for no reason. He made a decisive decision, took a step forward, and said in a low voice, Everyone is reunited. The scene is touching, but that's it. Well, I don't want to start a big killing, I just give you 8 words. At this point, his voice became cold, and his murderous thoughts surged like a tide, and his voice was like the new wind blowing from the 9 nether purgatory, which made people shudder. Those who follow me prosper, and those who oppose me perish. To be continued. Chapter 2342 Early Death and Early Survival. Phone reading. Yang Kai looked dignified, and also took a step forward, resisting the strong power of the emperor, and said in a deep voice, Lu Yan, take them into the secret realm, I will meet this old guy for a while. Chu Zi is just an emperor who has just broken through, and his realm has not yet stabilized, so Yang Kai is really not afraid of him. Previously in the secret realm of Chenyizong, he even encountered the corpse puppets of the 3rd level of Emperor Zun, and even fought against them. Although he used all his cards and had the help of the Dharma body, he had experience at any rate. How could he now, afraid of a 1st level emperor? He now also has the cultivation base of Daoyuan 3rd level, just to test his strength with Chu Zi. The monstrous imperial prestige is like a substance, rolling in crazily, making people involuntarily have the illusion of drowning in water, and they can't even breathe smoothly. Yi Hin and the others were already in poor condition. If Yang Kai hadn't stood in front of them at this moment, they might have fainted on the spot. Master, if you don't worry, how about delaying for a while, and leave the rest to me? Lu Yan suddenly said softly from behind. Yang Kai's expression was stunned. He didn't know where Lu Yan got such confidence, although she was unscathed by Chu Zi's blow just now, and the strength of the spirit puppet's body is clear at a glance, but after all, there are so many strong people here, even more how can Chu Zi be so easy to deal with such an emperor senior realm? Yang Kai himself was not sure that he would be able to defeat them all. He planned to capture the thief and the king. It would be best if he could kill Chu Zi, but at worst he would have to injure him severely. Fear. But Lu Yan's calm and confident tone made Yang Kai extremely curious. He didn't know what kind of trump card Lu Yan, who had the body of a puppet, had the guts not to put so many strong men in his eyes. But now is obviously not the time to ask this question, Yang Kai just said indifferently, how confident are you? Lu Yan smiled coldly, 10%. Yang Kai turned his head to look at her in amazement, and saw that she didn't mean to be joking at all, so he nodded and said, okay, then I will wait and see. 1 cup of tea, Lu Yan said, suddenly sat cross-legged and closed his eyes. Several people didn't know what she was going to do. Yi Hen was even more anxious, and kept giving Yang Kai winks to tell him to escape from this place. Watching Si thought about it for a while. He comforted him and said, Sect Master Yi, don't worry, young Master Yang has his own arrangements, and nothing will happen to you. Yang Kai is proficient in space power, and here is where the array base platform is located. Even if he loses in the end, everyone can be sent to the secret realm through this array, so there is nothing to be afraid of. She was curious about Lu Yan's actions, and didn't know what she wanted to do. Hearing what she said, Yi Hen had no choice but to compromise. I can only secretly hope that there will be a miracle in my heart. Sister Hua, take care of them. If it doesn't work, activate this space magic circle to enter the secret realm. After Yang Kai gave a warning, the momentum on his body suddenly rose sharply, and traces of clearly identifiable power of Lao lingered around his side. Chu Zi's imperial prestige was suppressed like nothing, cutting into it like a sharp sword, breaking it open instantly. Sure enough, he has some skills. No wonder he dares to be so rampant. Chu Zi shouted unexpectedly with a serious look on his face. He has been promoted to Emperor Senior Realm. Naturally, knowing the huge gap between Emperor Senior Realm and Daoyuan Realm, his own strength has expanded more than 10 times after being promoted, and he is confident that he can deal with any Daoyuan Realm warrior within 3 moves. He originally thought that under the pressure of his imperial prestige, no one here could move freely, no matter who they were, he would let him manipulate them. But as soon as Yang Kai moved, he knew that he was wrong. In this world, there are still Dao Origin Realm warriors who can break through the power of Emperor Wei. The power of Lao lingering on the opponent is also pure and mysterious. It's unpredictable. Chu Zi instantly realized that Yang Kai was definitely not in an ordinary Dao Origin Realm, and combined with Hua Qingxi's performance before, he was even more convinced that these two people were definitely from some great sect, and had a background that no one else had. When he spoke, Chu Zi became angry from embarrassment. Both hands formed a seal quickly, and the power of the Emperor's prestige suddenly rose to a higher level. As a strong man in the Emperor Senior Realm, it would be a joke for Yang Kai to rush in front of him, so Chu Zi spared no effort in this attack. In fact, it also took effect very quickly. After he sealed his seal, Yang Kai's figure suddenly stopped, his calm and breezy expression became hard, and his movements slowed down like a ghost for a moment. At this moment, a figure suddenly rose into the sky. Luo Jin was mixed with overwhelming anger, with a ferocious expression, holding the secret treasure like Jade Ruyi, trying his best to pour in the source force, and shouted in his mouth, "Kid, die." While speaking, he slammed down on Yang Kai. He followed Chu Zi this time to seek revenge on Yang Kai, and he also knew that it was unlikely that he would kill Yang Kai with his own abilities. At that time in the City Lord's mansion, Yang Kai was only at the 2nd level of Daoyuan and beat him helplessly. Now that Yang Kai has been promoted to the 3rd level, the gap between them is getting bigger and bigger, and it is even more impossible for him to be opponent. He wanted to take revenge, so he could only rely on Chu Zeji's prestige. This moment is undoubtedly the best time. Yang Kai is suppressed by Chu Zedawei, and he may not be able to display his strength at all. Once he is hit by his secret treasure, he will die without a doubt. Anyway, Chu Zi didn't care whether Yang Kai was alive or dead, as long as he took the body back and boiled it into a medicinal soup. Luo Jin felt that his actions were unlikely to offend him. At this moment, Luo Jin made a move without hesitation, and all the shame and humiliation he had received before Yang Kai broke out. With one blow, the void collapsed, and that Yu Ruyi seemed to contain the power to destroy the world, and a destructive aura rushed towards Yang Kai. The smile on Luo Jin's face became more ferocious, and there was a hint of revenge in his red eyes, as if he had already seen the end of Yang Kai being bombarded and killed by him. Even Chu Zi cooperated with Luo Jin's actions at this moment. He secretly condensed his imperial prestige and turned it into a restraining force, imprisoning Yang Kai's actions. Boom! Yu Ruyi smashed down, and a void black hole appeared directly in the place where Yang Kai was, leaving nothing within a radius of 10 feet. Luo Jin landed on the ground, looking at the black hole that devoured everything in front of him like an open animal mouth. He couldn't help laughing out loud. Not good. Chu Zi let out a low voice, his complexion suddenly changed. He has been restraining Yang Kai with Emperor Wei. The moment before Luo Jinyu Rui smashed it down, he felt that Yang Kai disappeared strangely. He didn't know how Yang Kai disappeared. It seemed that it was just a negligence and he could no longer grasp it. Live the traces of Yang Kai. Heaven has a way, you don't go, hell has no way to go. The gloomy words were like ecstatic voices, suddenly sounded from behind Luo Jin, making his hair stand on end, blood flow backward, and the soles of his feet cramp. Lord Luo, be careful. Behind, Ruan Hongbo, Mu Zheng and the others shouted in unison, looking behind Luo Jin in horror, as if seeing some incredible scene. A wisp of cold sweat fell down Luo Jin's forehead. At this moment, Luo Jin's perception was infinitely magnified, and he clearly felt the cold chill and murderous intent coming from behind. Almost without hesitation, he was about to flee from the spot, but before he could make any movements, there was a slight pain in his chest, and his whole body froze in place, and the blood and source force rushing in his body were also at this moment completely solidified. He widened his eyes in horror, and looked down at his chest, only to see a broad sword point piercing his chest. On the blade, the bright red blood was so dazzling. It's a pity that City Lord Luo didn't cherish your life before. If that's the case, then die early and be reborn early. Yang Kai snorted coldly, stirring the million swords in his hand, urging them to move. Luo Jin didn't even let out a miserable cry, and exploded into a cloud of blood mist, which scattered all over the ground. Luo Jin is ungrateful. The last time Yang Kai got around him because of Luo Bing's relationship, but he not only didn't know how to restrain himself, but even revenged him, following Chu Zi and others to the inside of Chenyi sect. Yang Kai naturally wouldn't be soft-hearted again. Yang Kai stretched out his hand and grabbed Luo Jin's ring and the wish-like secret treasure in his hands, stuffing them into mysterious Shaoji. The wind was bitter. Yang Kai was holding a million swords, his clothes were fluttering, murderous, as if there was no one else around. There was a sound of gasping, and Mu Zheng, Ruan Hongbo and the others involuntarily stepped back a few steps. All of them looked horrified and completely dumbfounded. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they would never have believed that Luo Jin had just died like this. Luo Jin is a strong man at the 3rd level of Daoyuan, and his strength is on par with them. No one is confident that he can definitely beat him in a one-on-one fight alone, but now, after a face-to-face meeting, he was defeated open to kill. This is still under the premise of Chu Zi's suppression. If there is no Chu Zi's suppression, wouldn't it mean that he would die faster? Who is this kid? Could it be that some Emperor Senior Realm powerhouse hid his cultivation base to play with them? Mu Zheng and the others all had ugly expressions on their faces, vaguely feeling that it might not be a wise move to follow Chu Zi to Chenyizong to seek trouble. Yang Kai only had Daoyuan 3rd layer to achieve this level. If he was promoted to the Emperor Senior Realm, how could he and others have a way to survive? For a while, the strong men of several major sects were worried and panicked. On the other side, Yi Hen was equally shocked, but more excited. Although he had already heard about Yang Kai's strength from Yi Jinghen, but hearing about it was one thing, seeing it with his own eyes was another. Chenyizong, maybe there is still salvation. Yi Hen's originally dim eyes rekindled a gleam of light. He patted Yi Jinghen's hand lightly, and said weakly, Jinghen, you have good eyesight. If you can escape this time, in the future, you need to walk around more with Yang Xiao. If it weren't for Yi Jinghen and Du Xian's childhood sweethearts, they had already hit it off, and he would have wanted to betroth his daughter to Yang Kai. If this young man with a bright future can join the Chiba sect, it will of course be a great thing for the sect. Yes, Daddy. Yi Jinghen also had bright eyes, and her heart was full of joy. A few days ago in the city lord's mansion, Yang Kai created a miracle. Many strong men who were suppressed by his own power were out of breath, and he took the bride to swagger. Walking out of the city gate, in the Chenyi sect today, with the presence of a powerful emperor, can he still perform miracles? To be continued. Chapter 2343 Shameless. Phone reading. Dare to kill people in front of me, boy, you are presumptuous. Chu Zi was furious, gritted his teeth and roared, his face turned into anger from embarrassment. Left pointing arrow. On the premise that he personally suppressed Yang Kai, Luo Jin was also killed by him. If rumors of this matter spread, everyone would think him a paper tiger. This was his first battle after he was promoted to the Emperor Senior Realm, and he came here to stand up, but he didn't expect it to backfire. When Yang Kai killed Luo Jin, he was slapping him in the face. How could Chu Zi endure such humiliation? When the words fell, Chu Zi shook his wrist, and a blood-red spear appeared in his hand. The spear was full of strong energy fluctuations and heavy restrictions. At first glance, it was a Daoyuan-level top-grade secret treasure, and it was in harmony with Chu Zi's mind. Connected, sacrificed by his blood. Chu Zetsai had been promoted to the Emperor Senior Realm, and he didn't have an Emperor treasure in his hand, but if he was given some time and enough time to refine and raise the spear, it might not be impossible for the spear to be promoted to an Emperor treasure. It's a pity he doesn't have the skill. He was forced to use secret treasures against a source of Dao. Although it was a little disgraceful, Chu Zi couldn't care less now. With the spear in his hand, Chu Zi's aura rose even further. The blood-red spear was closely connected with his own aura. Chu Zi let out a loud shout, and took the initiative to strike, trying to kill Yang Kai with one blow to save his face. Chi-chi, countless blood-red guns burst out, bombarding Yang Kai like locusts crossing the border, and the whole sky suddenly became as red as blood, and the murderous intent and violent power permeated, making everyone look a little shocked. Yang Kai's million swords waited for the opportunity to move, the sword's intentions fluctuated, and the sword glow suddenly appeared, and he shouted in his mouth, "Swords out of a million, one man is in charge." At this moment, he stood between Kai Yu and the others and Chu Zi. So there was no way to dodge Chu Zi's attack at all. If he dodged, Kai Yu and the others would definitely be enveloped by the spear light. Chu Zi's move was not only suspected of a sneak attack, but also cleverly used Yang Kai's concern for Kai Yu and the others, which is not despicable. If it is an ordinary Daoyuan third-layer realm, it is completely powerless to resist. Under this move, he would definitely be bombarded to death. But Yang Kai held the Emperor treasure, and the defensive ultimate move that he displayed greatly dispelled Chu Zi's power. Boom boom boom. The spear light and sword light collided in midair, the energy tide surged restlessly, the void shook, and the world collapsed. Chu Zi's expression changed suddenly, and he took a step back. While shaking the spear, he smashed a hidden moon blade that came with the sword light into powder. On the opposite side, although Yang Kai remained motionless, but with a few chi-chi sounds, blood splashed all over his body, and he seemed to have suffered a little from this confrontation. After all, Chu Zi is in the Emperor Senior Realm. Yang Kai's ability to fight against him is already a manifestation of his strength. If he is really unscathed, it would be too terrifying. The boy dares to plot against me, how despicable. Chu Zi was shocked in his heart, but remained calm on his face. The shot was too hasty just now, and he didn't see the true face of Moonblade. All he knew was that the blow was very mysterious. Yang Kai curled his lips and said, "Don't the old man blush when he says this?" Chu Zi naturally knew what he meant, but he had no intention of arguing with him. With a pull of the spear, another extreme move suddenly appeared, shattering the sky. Straight towards Yang Kai's face door. Yang Kai was furious. This old man was sure that he couldn't dodge at will, so he was ruthless in his moves, and he had to force himself to fight with him, if there were no Kai Yu and others behind him. Yang Kai wouldn't be so passive, but he couldn't ignore the safety of Kai Yu and the others. Not only Yang Kai knew about this situation, but everyone else could see it clearly. Ruan Hongbo and the others all had embarrassing expressions, secretly feeling that Chu Zi didn't have the demeanor of an Emperor Senior Realm powerhouse. He was simply a rascal. But now everyone is tied to the same rope. Even though they stare at each other in their hearts, they dare not say anything. Give you 3 points of color and open the dyeing workshop. Old dog, you still have to be shameless. Yang Kai shouted angrily, urging the source power to pour a million swords, and a sword greeted him. As the sword edge passed, all the spear lights were broken, and it fell apart in an instant. Chu Zi's complexion really changed a lot this time. The other party's Daoyuan third-level realm was able to compete with him. If he didn't have the scruples of his companions behind him, wouldn't he be an opponent at all? After breaking through Chu Zi's attack, Yang Kai didn't pause at all, and with a flick of his fingers, more than a dozen moon blades whizzed away. Chu Zi's eyelids shrank suddenly, and this time he finally felt it clearly. Those scimitars, the jet-black energy attacks actually contained a strong power of space, and when they came out turbulently and changed, he couldn't help it at all. Grasp the attack trajectory of these moon blades. Space law, Chu Zi exclaimed, his body shook, and the Emperor's will suddenly permeated, forming an Emperor's domain covering a range of 10 feet around his body. The Imperial domain suddenly appeared, and he finally discerned the attack direction of the moon blades, and the spear continued to move, breaking the moon blades one after another. In an instant, Chu Zi was drenched in cold sweat and looked horrified. When Yang Kai showed extraordinary combat power, he didn't panic too much, and even when he was on par with him, he just thought that Yang Kai was a talent to make, but when he realized that Yang Kai was proficient in the law of space, his whole body everyone feels bad. How strange is the law of space? Ordinary people don't talk about beginners, even if they don't understand a little bit. This has nothing to do with strength and cultivation. There are many emperor-level powerhouses in the star world, but how many people really understand the laws of space? But the young man in front of him can use the law of space to fight against the enemy and shoot the blade of space at will. What does this mean? It shows that the person's attainments in space power have reached the pinnacle. Such a person has a bright future, and given time, he will become a great weapon. When he succeeds in cultivation, wouldn't he be dead? With this in mind, how could Chu Zi care about Li Wei? Only the words, cut grass and root, kept flashing in my mind, and I opened my mouth and shouted, what are you doing in a daze? Why don't you do it? As soon as he drank, everyone suddenly realized that they came here to trouble Chen Yizong, not to watch a show, and they had killed so many disciples of Chen Yizong before. If they didn't take advantage of this time to kill them all, once they were given when Chiba Zong was panting, he might have to revive. Palace Master Chu, I'll help you. A loud shout sounded, and a figure rushed out. To everyone's surprise, the first person to respond to Chu Zi's call was not Ruan Hongbo or Mu Zheng, but Shi Kangying from Chen Yi sect. He looked like he had a deep hatred with Chen Yizong, as if he wanted to kill Yang Kai and others now. When speaking, the secret treasure has been sacrificed, and the source power surged towards Yang Kai. Shi Kangying moved. How could Mu Zheng, Ruan Hongbo and others stand by and remain indifferent? After a moment of hesitation, they all gritted their teeth and took action. In an instant, more than a dozen secret treasures and secret techniques belonging to the Daoyuan third layer realm shrouded Yang Kai and bombarded him. Although Yang Kai is amazing, his strength has skyrocketed after being promoted, and he can fight against Chu Zi without losing the wind, but with so many people rushing in at once, it is naturally difficult to beat four hands with two fists, and he is trapped in the middle all of a sudden, unable to advance or retreat. Dangers abounded, and within just 3 breaths of effort, he was covered in blood and in a panic. After Yang Kai was trapped by the crowd, other warriors from Tianzhou Palace, Baiyun Tower and Tianji Palace bypassed this battlefield one after another, and rushed towards Kai Yu and the others. When watching Si saw it, her pretty face turned cold, and she said in a deep voice, Miss Yi, take them back into the secret realm. Yi Jinghen said, then what about you? Watching Si glanced at Lu Yan who was still sitting cross-legged on the ground motionless, and said, I have to stay here. Lu Yan didn't know what she was up to. Since she sat down, she hadn't moved anymore, so watching Si naturally couldn't ignore her. To watching Si's surprise, facing her persuasion, Yi Jinghen turned her head and said, this is the life and death of my Chiba sect, how can we escape? Yi Hen also nodded and said, that's right, as an outsider, young Master Yang can help my Chen Yi sect solve problems. Yi is the lord of the Chen Yi sect, how can he back down here? Even if the blood splatters for 5 steps, the old man will never leave. After his words fell, the others nodded one after another, as if they were disregarding life and death. You are really. Watching Si stomped her feet anxiously, but when she saw the resolute expression on the faces of Yi Hen and the others, she knew that her persuasion was useless, so she could only turn her head to look at Kai Yu and the others. Kai Yu pursed her lips and smiled, and said, one more person, one more strength. This elder sister shouldn't persuade us. She finally reunited with Yang Boy. If we separate again, I'm afraid we won't be able to see each other again. Hey, watching Si sighed, knowing that it was useless to say anything, she could only say, then be careful. When they spoke, the place where they were located was already surrounded by countless warriors. They just didn't know what these warriors were afraid of, so they didn't attack them immediately but waited and watched vigilantly. At this moment, Yang Kai suddenly heard a roar. It seemed that Yang Kai was really angry, and then, a group of dazzling rays of light flashed from there, swallowing the place where Yang Kai was at once. More than 20 Daoyuan third layer outsiders plus an Emperor senior realm joined forces to attack. How could Yang Kai block it? At the critical moment, he could only teleport out, and suddenly appeared in front of watching Si and the others. He showed up without any warning, which startled the warriors of the various sects who gathered here, and all retreated. Yang Kai was able to fight against Chu Zi, and killing Luo Jin was also a face-to-face matter. How could they not be afraid? In an instant, a large area was vacated at the formation base platform where everyone was. The rumors are indeed true. It is indeed a good thing to be proficient in the power of space. Chuzi's slightly envious tone came from the outside. Immediately afterwards, the crowd took the initiative to separate. With Chuzi as the leader, more than a dozen Daoyuan third layers strolled come here, stand 10 feet away in front of Yang Kai and the others. Yang Kai curled his lips, with a rebellious expression on his face. Although he was defeated by so many strong men, it is impossible for these people to kill him, and now that he has retreated to the formation base platform, it can be said that he can advance and retreat without any fear at all. The big deal is to directly activate the space magic circle. Take Chiyu and others back to the secret realm. What's more, he hasn't used his whole cards yet. I was tied up before, just because I was afraid of the mouse, but now that I came here, I have no worries. To be continued. Chapter 2344 Massacre. Boy, you are proficient in the power of space, I am really not sure to keep you. Chuzi looked at Yang Kai with a gloomy face. He had already noticed that Yang Kai's strength was not inferior to him at all, and he could even said to be slightly better than him, and coupled with the opponent's proficiency in space power, Chuzi really has no confidence in keeping him. In other words, if Yang Kai wanted to leave, he could leave at any time, even if he refused, Chuzi could only stare blankly. But in fact, Yang Kai did not leave, because he still has many friends here. It is impossible to escape alone, so Chuzi was not flustered, but just smiled and said, "If you leave, I will not stop you, but these people, He didn't say much, but the threat in that mouth was obvious. Old dog Chuzi, you really are shameless. Yi Hen roared angrily. Chuzi was indifferent, he just looked at Yang Kai and said, "Boy, you should think about it yourself, whether you should escape by yourself, or stay and share the joys and sorrows with these people. Such an enemy should either not be provoked, or directly cut the roots, otherwise there will be endless troubles." Chuzi is betting that Yang Kai will not ignore these people, and he is very confident that Yang Kai will not run away alone. As long as he does not run away, everything is easy to say. With so many strong men under him, he is afraid that he will not be able to kill them. Even if you pay some price today, you must kill Yang Kai here. Ruan Hongbo and the others obviously wanted to go with Chuzi, so although everyone looked ugly, they didn't flinch, watching Yang Kai's killing intent surge. Yang Kai stood on the base platform. He looked around for a while, as if he wanted to remember all the people who made things difficult for him here, but all the warriors who were caught by his gaze changed drastically, and they all looked away, terrified. "Very good. You forced me to do this, I hope you don't regret it." Yang Kai grinned, and suddenly a bracelet-shaped secret treasure appeared in his hand, and there were extremely strong energy fluctuations on the bracelet. That's all, the key is that traces of clear imperial charm and imperial meaning permeate the moment the bracelet appears. Debao. Chuzi's eyes shrank, revealing a hot light. The others also had expressions of disbelief, and their eyes widened. The million swords in Yang Kai's hands are definitely emperor treasures, and they have already experienced this deeply. It is shocking enough for a Daoyuan warrior to own one emperor treasure, but he actually has another one. What is the background of this kid? Why do you have so many emperor treasures in your hand? While Chuzi was terrified in his heart, his eyes were red, thinking that he had finally been promoted to the emperor senior realm, but there was no emperor treasure to use. Yang Kai unexpectedly took out 2 emperor treasures in one Daoyuan stage. How could he not envy or hate? At this moment, Chuzi didn't even bother to think about the power behind Yang Kai, he just wanted to kill Yang Kai quickly. Let's talk about taking these 2 emperor treasures, with his current cultivation base. If there are these 2 emperor treasures to help each other, the strength will definitely skyrocket. Do it, Chuzi shouted angrily, and was the first to rush towards Yang Kai. When the others saw it, they didn't dare to hesitate any longer, and followed suit one after another. The faces of Yi Hen and the others changed drastically, and they were all ashen. Feeling that this time it might be doomed, even watching C was pretty undignified. But Yang Kai didn't let them retreat into the secret realm. Watching C knew that Yang Kai must have his own plan, so a pair of beautiful eyes looked at him, wanting to see what other trump cards Yang Kai had. It was able to withstand the attacks of so many strong men. I saw Yang Kai reached out and patted the bracelet, and then, a large group of black objects suddenly flew out of the bracelet. The buzzing sound was continuous, as if an invisible gap had been opened on the bracelet, and countless black foreign objects as if being released. In the blink of an eye, the surroundings of the base platform were enveloped in black, and the surrounding was airtight. Insects. Watching C called out coquettishly, finally seeing what these black things were. It was a black insect about the size of a grain of rice, the number was inexhaustible, gathered into a cloud of insects, and surrounded them as a protection. Watching C clearly felt a little discomfort from these insects. Breath. This breath is very similar to the breath of the ancient troll that he met outside Fengelin City that day. This discovery shocked Watching C, who didn't know that these bugs were weird. No matter what they are definitely not something to be messed with if they can possess the aura of ancient devil energy. The worm cloud suddenly appeared, buzzing, and around the base platform, Chuzi and others made moves together, and the attacks of various secret techniques and treasures bombarded the worm cloud, knocking countless black worms dizzy, and fell on the ground. Land. Chuzi's dignified expression suddenly unfolded. He was still wary of Yang Kai, lest he would use some terrible means, but when he saw these weird bugs were so vulnerable, he let go of his heart immediately. I feel that Yang Kai is afraid that he is a little out of his wits. Chuzi was overjoyed, and when he was about to use another extreme move to break through the protection of the insect cloud, he instinctively felt that something was wrong. He hurriedly lowered his head to look at the worms on the ground, and saw that the black worms that had been swept down on the ground were all unscathed. They just flicked their wings lightly and came alive. Not only that, it seemed that they were attacked. All the black worms exuded a violent aura, and rushed towards the nearby warriors. What the hell is this? Chuzi's heart skipped a beat, and before he could figure it out, a pitch-black bug had already pounced on him. Immediately afterwards, Chuzi suddenly felt a slight pain in his sea of consciousness, as if he had been pricked by something. After doing this, he was shocked to find that a corner of his consciousness was missing. Can this black worm devour his divine sense? Chuzi's soul burst into cold sweat all of a sudden. He could see clearly that the bug had landed on his arm, and there were several layers of clothes. Even if it was bitten, it could only be bitten on his arm, but why didn't his arm hurt? But a corner of his consciousness was missing. At the moment when he hesitated, there was a slight pain in the sea of consciousness again, and the consciousness was less again. These black bugs are weird. How could Chuzi dare to be negligent? If this momentum continues, if he doesn't care about it, won't his consciousness be swallowed up by this black worm? At that time, he will definitely die. He was shocked by the source force, and the Emperor's domain was blasted away, directly sending the bug out. What made him unbelievable was that even so, the black worm did not die, but persevered in rushing towards him, but was blocked by the Emperor's domain, unable to approach him at all. What? A scream pierced the sky, followed by countless screams one after another. The screams were extremely shrill, as if they were enduring the cruelest torture in the world. Chuzi turned his head and looked. His heart felt as if someone had poured a basin of cold water on it, and it became cold all of a sudden. I saw warriors from several major sects, including his own Tianzhou palace, all surrounded by these black worms at the moment. Those warriors from the 3rd level Daoyuan and the 2nd level Daoyuan were better, powerful, although they were embarrassed. There is no danger of life. Those fighters at Daoyuan 1st level and Void King level will be miserable. Black worms rush, they can't dodge at all. Many people are covered by black worms, and they can no longer see people. In the blink of an eye, these warriors surrounded by black worms were completely silent, and when the black worms dispersed, they all lay motionless on the ground. Their physical bodies were not damaged at all, but their slack and terrified eyes showed that they encountered something extremely frightening before they died. Where did Chuzi not know that these warriors died after being devoured by these black worms? He himself has encountered such an attack. If he is not strong enough, he must be lying on the ground now. Pieces of warriors fell down, struggling and wriggling, but none of them escaped the fate of being killed. In just a short 5-breath kung fu, more than half of the warriors from several major sects died. This is simply a massacre, a unilateral massacre of inhumanity. Not to mention that Ruan Hongbo and others felt cold all over. Even the instigator Yang Kai showed a look of horror after seeing this scene. This is the first time he has used it against the enemy since he completely subdued the soul-devouring worms. Although he knew that the soul-devouring worms could play a big role, he never thought that the number of soul-devouring worms would be so powerful after reaching a certain level. The situation in front of him caused him to stay in place for a while, and there were still soul-eating worms flying out of the slave worm bracelet. After the last soul-eating worm flew away from the slave worm bracelet, there were more than 1 million soul-eating worms in the valley, and a cloud of worms was pitch black, gathering around those warriors who were still living in pain, waiting for the opportunity to go up take a bite. No matter what kind of protective secret treasures these warriors sacrificed, they could not stop the devouring of the soul-devouring insects. Even the source power in the warrior's body, they can now be regarded as delicious food, and anyone who comes will not be rejected. More and more warriors fell to the ground. Those warriors at the Void King realm and Daoyuan first level realm had long since died cleanly. Under the siege of the soul-devouring insect cloud, these weaker warriors had no strength to fight back at all. Gradually, those martial artists at the second level of Daoyuan couldn't hold on any longer. Their own source power and spiritual thoughts were swallowed by the soul-eating insects one by one. Although their bodies were not damaged at all, they still couldn't escape the fate of death. However, with all their strength, they were unable to kill even one soul-eating insect. The vitality of the evolved soul-eating insect seemed to be extremely tenacious. Even if they were occasionally knocked unconscious by those warriors, they would soon wake up and join the battle again. Yi Hen and the others were stunned. Watching Si and the others were also stunned. Standing on the formation base platform one by one, looking at this inhumane and inhuman massacre, their emotions are extremely complicated. These people were showing off their might before, but they didn't want to turn into cold corpses in an instant. Describe, to be continued. Chapter 2345 All 4 elephants are killed. Since Yang Kai sacrificed the slave insect bracelet and released the soul-devouring insect, in less than 30 breaths of time, more than 70% of the warriors who came to provoke troubles from several major sects died, and even several Daoyuan third-layer warriors died. He also failed to escape this disaster. Such a powerful combat power of the Soul Eater was beyond Yang's expectation. It is conceivable that if there is more time, even Chuzi might be killed by the Soul Eater. Ruan Hongbo and the others were scared out of their wits. They followed Chuzi this trip. They wanted to avenge the death of KTN and the others. This has already hurt the foundation of the Tianji Temple, and the people he brought are all the elite of the Tianji Temple. The same is true for other sects, and each family has suffered huge losses. By this time, he had already regretted coming to Chenny sect. If he hadn't come to Chenny sect, how could such a thing have happened? He can completely hug his 2 beautiful female disciples romantically and sing to wine. Seeing familiar or unfamiliar warriors dying beside him, but Chuzi couldn't turn the tide, Ruan Hongbo couldn't hold on any longer. If this situation persisted, he would only die. The soul-eating insects gathered around him roared, "Let's go." After the words fell, he had already rushed out of the valley first. How could the others dare to be negligent, and they used their body skills to fly out one after another. "Want to leave now? It's late, leave it all to me." A crisp voice suddenly sounded, and Lu Yan, who had kept her beautiful eyes tightly closed at the base platform, suddenly opened her eyes, and her pair of eyes were as clear as jewels. His eyes were full of cold murderous intent. Since the beginning of the battle, Lu Yan has been sitting here cross-legged without moving. No one knows what she is doing, even Yang Kai does not know, seeing her suddenly move at this moment, naturally looking at her curiously. I saw Lu Yan's 2 small hands suddenly made a tactic, and said crisply and coquettishly, "Qinglong." After the imprint was formed, she directly blasted towards a nearby mountain. The shape of the mountain was so weird that it looked like a real dragon crawling there. And as the imprint was shot in, the mountain peak suddenly hummed, and then, a powerful breath suddenly diffused from the inside of the mountain peak. At the same time, the mountain peak that had been silent for tens of thousands of years seemed to be given life. The vegetation on the mountain swayed, and the gravel cracked. At the head of the dragon on the Longxing mountain peak, 2 huge eyes suddenly opened, containing the supreme dragon power. Rumbling, the mountain suddenly soared into the sky, and as the broken stones continued to fall, a 100-foot-long behemoth gleaming with blue light suddenly straddled the sky. Under the pressure of Longwei, everyone felt insignificant, as if they were an insignificant ant in front of this green dragon. True dragon. Hua Qingxi's beautiful eyes tightened, and she looked at the scene before her in disbelief. She couldn't believe that there was such a real dragon hidden under a mountain peak in Chenyizong. But soon she realized that something was wrong. This real dragon didn't have the slightest breath of life. Although the strong dragon power was extremely vivid, it was definitely not a living thing. Heavenly puppet. Yi Hen was completely dumbfounded, his eyes widened, and he stared blankly at the green dragon lying across the sky. In an instant, tears filled his eyes, and he opened his hand and held it towards the void, as if he wanted to grab the dragon. Holding Qinglong in his hand, he choked up and said, "This is a puppet." "Daddy, are you saying, this is my Chenny sect's heaven-level puppet?" Yi Jinghen immediately understood what Yi Hen meant, and her heart was extremely shocked. Many skills and secret techniques of the Chenni sect have been lost for tens of thousands of years, and the way of puppets has plummeted. Not to mention the sky-level puppets, even those earth-level puppets in the square, no one in the Chenni sect can drive them. As for the sky puppet, even Yi Jinghen didn't know where it was hidden. Yi Hen never mentioned this to her. It turns out that the sky puppet has always been under his nose. Yi Jinghen looked around, looking at those mountains with strange shapes and different sizes in the distance. It turned out that these mountain peaks were all hiding places for sky puppets. Tens of thousands of years of wind and sun, tens of thousands of years of dust cover, they are all hidden under these peaks, sleeping quietly. Today, after tens of thousands of years, a sky puppet is finally awakened, flies into the sky, and reveals its majestic figure. What an incredible thing! Moreover, the person who awakened and drove this sky-level puppet was not someone from Chenyiizong, but a 7 or 8-year-old girl whom he had never seen before. Yi Hen looked at Qinglong on the sky that day, and then at Lu Yan. His old eyes were full of fiery color. He didn't know why this little girl was able to drive Tian puppet, but he knew that the other party was with Yang Kai. In other words, Yang Kai should have found the lost skills and secret techniques of Chenyiizong. Chiba sect is really saved. Yang Kai raised his eyebrows, and after thinking about it for a while, he vaguely understood why Lu Yan was able to drive the heavenly puppets. This probably has something to do with her being the body of a puppet now. Maybe her body of a puppet already has a magic method to drive the sky puppet. No wonder she let herself delay for a while, saying that the rest would be left to her. It turned out to be like this. Even the heaven-level puppet Luyan can be activated. It is indeed enough to sweep this place. Even though this day-level puppet has been sleeping for countless years, Yang Kai can still feel that it definitely has the strength of the Emperor Senior Realm, and it is not an ordinary Emperor Senior Realm. The tyrannical aura emanating from the Azure Dragon Sky Puppet is not inferior to that of the Corpse Puppet in Chenyiizong's secret territory. In the Chiba sect, those disciples who were hiding or were injured suddenly let out shouts and calls, falling layer by layer, and spread all over the field. Although no one told them, they could still feel that this was the sect's heavenly puppets. The disciple is proud of the sect, and the sect is proud of the disciple. The sky puppet reappeared after tens of thousands of years, which is a sign of the great prosperity of the Chenni sect. Every disciple of the Chenni sect is so excited that it is difficult to contain it. On the other side, Shi Kangying, who was running away in a hurry, was dumbfounded. A burst of regret welled up in his heart, almost made him spit out a mouthful of blood. He is the leader of the new faction of Chenni Zongwang, and he has always felt that the Zongmen should not be so rigid and stick to the puppet way left by their ancestors, and should learn other skills and secret techniques to enhance the strength of Chenni Zong. Therefore, the relationship between him and Yi Han has never been very harmonious. This time Chu Zi brought people to Chenni sect to attack, and after showing his cultivation of the Emperor Senior stage a little, Shi Kangying immediately rebelled. Not only did he attack Yi Han in a sneak attack, also opened the mountain protection array, otherwise Chenyiizong would not have suffered such heavy casualties. Chenyiizong's mountain protection array is not so easy to break through. Shi Kangying originally thought that after today's incident, he could become the suzerain of Chenni sect, take charge of the sect's power, and implement his own philosophy all the time, but to his disappointment, they were powerless with only one Yang Kai. But now, even such things as sky puppets have reappeared. Shi Kangying's intestines are green with regret. If he had known that the sky puppet would be awakened one day, why would he be so sinister and scheming? Isn't it good to be his deputy suzerain obediently? Maybe he can get a sky puppet to play with, even Chu Zi will act according to his face. But there is no such thing as regret medicine in this world. A scene that made Shi Kangying even more desperate appeared. After awakening the Azure Dragon Sky Puppet, Lu Yan still made seals with both hands, and slapped another mountain range. The mountain range also looks like a monster, and it is also a monster of a bird, but no one knows what it looks like. Suzaku. The mountains roared, and accompanied by a crisp chirping sound, the fiery sky puppet Suzaku soared into the sky, and the grass, trees and rocks that had covered it for tens of thousands of years fell with a clatter, and its graceful and powerful figure could be seen at a glance. White Tiger. Lu Yan formed another seal. The sound of the tiger roaring in the mountains and forests came out, and the third mountain collapsed, and a giant snow-white tiger jumped out of it, with a cold light shining on its fangs, which made people shudder. Xuanwu. The fourth mountain peak shattered, and the huge Xuanwu Tian puppet slowly crawled out from there. On its strong and spacious back, even a city could be carried on it. Yi Hen's whole body was shaking, His eyes were so excited that they almost popped out of their sockets, and he looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. He didn't expect that he could see the sky puppets appearing in his lifetime. Not only that, but 4 sky puppets were awakened at once, and blood was rolling in his heart. Yi Hen only felt that even if he died at this moment, no regrets. If you dare to hit me, I will tell you to die without a place to bury you. Lu Yan stared at Chu Zi with hatred, his small face was full of murderous intent, obviously remembering the matter of being slapped into the ground by Chu Zi's palm just now. After she finished speaking, she slapped her hands fiercely in the middle, and an almost imperceptible thought suddenly surged out. The next moment, the 4 heavenly puppets acted suddenly, each occupying a corner, and sealed off the world. Kill all 4 elephants, Lu Yan shouted. The invisible connection connects the 4 heavenly puppets, ferocious power pours out of the heavenly puppet's body and pours into the blocked world, forming a killing momentum that seems to be able to destroy the world. Chu Zi was the first to bear the brunt, and when he sensed the violent killing momentum, his whole body trembled as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. In the face of this complicated force, he felt that the Emperor Senior realm he had just promoted was as vulnerable as paper. Chi-chi, the invisible force was like a sharp blade, cutting on Chu Zi's body. In the blink of an eye, his whole body was covered in blood, his bones appeared, and he screamed incessantly. The scene was extremely miserable. He begged for mercy loudly, but Lu Yan was unmoved at all, and urged the imprints more and more fiercely, and the killing momentum of the 4 heavenly puppets became more and more ferocious. In less than 10 breaths of time, Chu Zi's whole body was gone, and only a white skeleton was left on the spot, which collapsed. And before Chu Zi's death, the warriors of several major sects had already been crushed by the killing momentum of all 4 elephants. This killing of all 4 elephants seems to be a formation, based on the 4 heavenly puppets. Even Chu Zi can't resist 10 breaths, how can others stop it? Ruan Hongbo and the others exploded into blood mist, leaving no bones left. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2346 Must Die. The bloody atmosphere soared into the sky, and the blocked world almost became a hell on earth. Shi Kangying didn't know what kind of trick to press the bottom of the box, but he didn't die immediately. His blood was burning wildly, and he was still dying, but the breath of death kept approaching, so he could only cry and beg, "Sovereign, I was wrong, suzerain, if I die, I will repent." At this moment, he finally understood that he was on the wrong team. If he had known that the sky puppet left by his ancestors was so powerful, how could he have any other intentions? I'm afraid he is more active than Yi Hen, studying the secret technique of how to drive the sky puppet. But what's the use of thinking about it now? These 4 heavenly puppets were born, and they didn't do anything. They just formed a killing formation and wiped out the entire army in the invading land. How could he live alone? He could only beg Yi Hen, hoping that Yi Hen would remember the friendship he had worked with all these years, so that he would not die. Lu Yan turned to look at Yi Hen, and asked for his opinion. Yi Hen's face was calm, and he said lightly, "The moment you attacked me and opened the Zongmen's mountain protection array, you were no longer a member of Chenizong." Shi Kangying turned pale with shock, and shouted, "Lord Suzerain, she has been loyal to the sect all these years, there will be hard work even if there is no credit, Suzerain, please forgive me." Yi Hen shook his head slowly, and said to Lu Yan, "Girl, do it, I don't want to hear him talk again." If it was said that Shi Kangying had been at odds with him before, and that they had conflicting ideas, Yi Hen would not kill him. After all, Shi Kangying was thinking about the future of the sect and finding a way out for the sect, even if it was a little selfish. It is human nature. Once upon a time, Yi Hen also doubted whether he was right to stick to the puppet way. But he absolutely shouldn't have taken the initiative to activate the mountain protection formation, so that the disciples of the sect could be slaughtered. If Shi Kangying is let go today, how will the thousands of disciples who died die in peace? So Shi Kangying must die. Hearing this, Lu Yan nodded lightly, and with just a movement of his divine sense, the 4 elephants were all killed, and they all rushed towards Shi Kangying. Visible to the naked eye, Shi Kangying's entire body suddenly inflated like a balloon being blown up, and then exploded into a cloud of blood mist, leaving no bones left. So far, none of the warriors who invaded Chenyi sect were left, and all of them died in this valley. Lu Yan formed seals with his hands, and the 4-elephant heavenly puppet gradually restrained his killing momentum, and crawled on the spot again, motionless. The smell of blood was extremely strong, and the valley was quiet and silent. Yi Hen turned his head and looked around. Although he was relieved, he still looked sad. The Chenny sect lost a lot this time. If it wasn't for Yang Kai's delay at the last moment, even the foundation would have been destroyed. The only thing that makes Yi Hen feel lucky is that Yang Kai returned safely from the secret realm, and brought back the secret technique to drive the sky puppet. Daddy, Yi Jinghen called out softly, helping her elderly father by the arm. Seeing his old age, her eyes turned red. Yi Hen waved his hand, but he clasped his fist at Yang Kai seriously and said, "Young Master Yang is so kind, Yi Hen and Chenny sect are unforgettable." Yang Kai smiled slightly and said, "Sect Master Yi, you don't have to be polite. I didn't put in much effort, and I was able to defeat a powerful enemy in one fell swoop, thanks to the heavenly puppet of your sect." While speaking, he glanced at the four-element sky puppet, and thought in his heart that it would be great if he brought the four-element sky puppet with him. He had seen the power of the four-element sky puppet before, although killing Chu Zi and the others were overkill, but Yang Kai was sure that in the battle just now, the four-elephant heavenly puppets didn't even use 1% of their power. If the power of this day's puppet is fully developed, I don't know what it will be like. After a pause, he said again, "After the war, Sect Master Yi must have many things to deal with, so I won't bother you for now. Let's talk about it in detail after Sect Master Yi finishes handling the sect's affairs." Yi Hen naturally knew what he was referring to, and also knew that it was not a good time to speak, so he immediately nodded and said, Okay, Jinghen, take Yang Xiao and all your friends down to rest. I will deal with the sect's affairs a little bit before going visit. Yi Jinghen led Yang Kai and others back to the main hall of the main peak, then turned and left. There are many things to be busy in Chenny sect now. Not only the sect's main formation needs to be repaired, but also many disciples are injured and need to be taken care of. Yi Jinghen naturally can't stay here. After she left, Kai Yu and the others suddenly turned their gazes to Yang Kai, all of them asking questions. What happened today was too sudden, and there were many things they didn't understand. Yang Kai Dao, go to my room and talk. After a while, everyone came to Yang Kai's room, and Yang Kai smiled slightly and introduced Watching Si to everyone. Although he had ordered Watching Si to protect Kai Yu and the others before, Watching Si had never shown her face in front of them until Shi Kengying sent someone to capture them, then Watching Si suddenly shot and injured them. But she didn't introduce herself, she just told Kai Yu and others that she was Yang Kai's friend. Now after listening to Yang Kai's explanation, it became clear that Watching Si's actions were secretly ordered by Yang Kai. Then, who is this little sister? Kai Yu looked at Lu Yan blankly. She always felt that Lu Yan was a little weird, different. What's more, it's unbelievable that a girl who looks like 7 or 8 years old actually has the powerful strength of the 3rd level of Daoyuan. Compared with Lu Yan, Kai Yu and the others feel that they are simply weak. Yang Kai didn't know how to explain the relationship between himself and Lu Yan, but Lu Yan stood up directly, saluted Yingying, and said crisply, "Lu Yan is the master's servant, I have seen you adults." Master, servant. Kai Yu looked at Yang Kai strangely with her beautiful eyes, and said coldly, "I can't tell, you still have this hobby." Io also looked at Yang Kai sarcastically, and said, "Do Shui Yu and the others know that you are doing this?" These two, one is the mother-in-law and the other is the father-in-law. Although they are not family members, they are Yang Kai's elders anyway. When considering things, they will think from the perspective of Shan Qinglo and Shui Yu, lest Yang Kai come to this Wawa star realm, seeing a change, forgetting his partner in his hometown star field, so his tone was severe, with the meaning of beating. Yang Kai wiped the cold sweat off his forehead, and said, "Lu Yan, the spiritual connection between us has been broken, and you will be free from now on, so you don't need to call me that anymore." Lu Yan wrinkled her little nose and said, "Master doesn't want me anymore." Yang Kai Dao, "Of course it doesn't mean that. What I mean is that since you are free, you can do whatever you want in the future. It would be great if you are willing to follow me, but if you want to act alone, it's up to you." After Lu Yan possessed the spirit puppet body, the mind and mind connection between Yang Kai and her was disconnected, so Lu Yan is indeed a free body now. She has a mind and a physical body. It can be said that she is now a living person, but the body structure is different from that of ordinary people. Hearing this, Lu Yan thought about it seriously, then suddenly smiled and said, "Since this is the case, then I will choose to follow the master all the time." "Master, please don't drive me away." Watching Si stared, humming, "He dares. When am I going to drive her away?" Yang Kai looked wronged, thought for a while, and quickly changed the subject. "By the way, Lu Yan, that day It seems that he already knew what kind of ghost Yang Kai was playing, and before he finished speaking, Lu Yan said seriously, "The consumption of Yushi Tian puppet is too high. This is not the consumption of me, but the consumption of the sky puppet itself." Consumption. Just now, according to my estimation, at least 1 million source crystals were consumed. Source crystal. Millions. Yang Kai was dumbfounded. Lu Yan nodded and said, "That's right, there are a lot of source crystals stored in the sky puppet body, so I can drive them to act, and they must be high-grade source crystals." Yang Kai sucked in a breath of cold air. The previous 4-element celestial puppets' action time definitely did not exceed 30 breaths of time, and they just formed a 4-element killing formation and did not really do it. Even so, it consumed 1 million high-grade source crystals. It is 100 million low-grade source crystals. What kind of concept is this? The sky puppet is powerful, but it must have enough capital to use it. Lu Yan added. According to this, aren't those sky puppets displayed in Chen Yizong? Yang Kai guessed that Chen Yizong definitely didn't have enough source crystals to make the sky puppets act again, so even if he returned the skills and secret techniques there is no way for them to improve the strength of Chen Yizong. Otherwise, Lu Yan shook his head and explained. There are 2 sources of energy for the celestial puppets of Chen Yizong. One is the source crystal stored in the body, and the other is the ground veins of Chen Yizong. Yang Kai's expression changed, and he said, "You mean the earth veins in the secret realm?" Lu Yan said, "That's right. You just repaired the formation of the secret realm before, and the entrance was not completely opened, so you couldn't use the power of the earth's veins. But if it is fully opened, the sky puppet can use the power of the earth's veins to act. At that time, the number of source crystals consumed will be greatly reduced, and the Chiba sect should be able to afford it." After a pause, she continued, "However, Master, if you want to get 1 or 2 sky puppet to play with, if not, we can only consume source crystals to drive them into action." Understood. Yang Kai nodded slightly. If he takes the sky puppet away, he will definitely not be able to use the power of the earth veins, but he has the earth vein beads in his hand, which are just below the medicine garden, and he also has a lot of source crystals. So even though he knew that the consumption would be huge, Yang Kai still wanted to bring 1 or 2 heavenly puppets with him. This thing can display the strength of the Emperor's senior stage, which is definitely a good thing. After half an hour, everyone left Yang Kai's room and went back to their rooms to meditate and practice. Today's battle made Kai Yu and the others realize their lack of cultivation. In the star field of their hometown, each of them is the overlord of one party, and the star of cultivation where Stomp's feet are located will tremble, but in this star field, they are just inconspicuous little people. They are eager to improve their strength. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2347. In the side room, Yang Kai penetrated into the slave worm bracelet with his spiritual sense to check the status of the soul-devouring worm. In today's battle, the Soul Eater's performance made him extremely satisfied, and it could even be said to have exceeded his expectations. These bugs are definitely a sharp weapon for group battles. Even the Daoyuan third-layer powerhouses can't resist their siege. If they are cultivated for some time and let them evolve again, they may even retreat from the Emperor's senior realm. However, it takes too long to cultivate the soul-devouring insects, and the consumption is definitely not small. Yang Kai needs to buy a large amount of spirit grass and throw it into the slave worm bracelet, so that this Emperor treasure can transform the medicinal effect of the spirit grass into something suitable for the growth of the soul-devouring insects. Nutrient. There is no rush for this kind of thing. The soul-eating insect ranks extremely high in the Strange Insect Sutra, as high as the 11th in the heaven list. There are more other strange insects in his slave insect bracelet. It should also play a big role. Yang Kai felt that if he had spare time in the future, he should find an opportunity to study the strange insects that were sealed in the slave insect bracelet. Maybe at some point he would be able to make them work wonders. In today's battle, the soul-devouring worms devoured many fighters, spiritual consciousness and source power, and they seemed to have grown somewhat, but it was not too obvious. But today's Soul Eater can even devour the origin force, which really surprised Yang Kai. The soul-eating worms in the past could only devour the power of consciousness. From this point of view, they have indeed grown a lot. Pound long pound feng pound wen pound shui, $T 3 days later, Yi Hen came to visit. Yang Kai naturally received him warmly. Now that the overall situation of the Chenyi sect has been settled, all the dead and injured disciples in the sect have been properly settled. Although the Chenyi sect has suffered heavy losses this time, it may not be a good thing. The members of the Wangxin faction headed by Shi Kangying have been wiped out, and the rest are all disciples and elders who are loyal to the sect. Now the Chenyi sect has one heart. There is also a sky puppet who can make an envoy, and given time, it will surely restore its former glory. Yi Hen's injury has not healed. The battle a few days ago made him work hard. When Yang Kai saw him, his face was still pale. His breathing was unstable, and Yi Jinghen was always by his side. Yang Kai also knew what he came to find him for, so he didn't talk nonsense after sitting down, and directly handed him the ring that Yi Chong gave him. Yi Hen took it with a trembling hand, looking at Yang Kai expectantly, eager for him to give him the answer he wanted to hear. Yang Kai smiled and said, "This is the ring that Senior Yi Chong gave me, and there should be many cultivation techniques and secret techniques inherited from your noble sect." Yi Hen's body shook when he heard the words, and he burst into tears all of a sudden. The wish of our ancestors for tens of thousands of years. It was finally realized in my own generation. But soon, he realized something was wrong, and said in surprise, "Young Master Yang, you just said that it was Yi Chong who gave you this ring. Could it be that?" Yang Kai waved his hand and said, "Senior Yi Chong has long since died. I just communicated with his residual spiritual sense. He told me to bring this ring to you." Hearing Yang Kai tell the story of what happened in the secret realm, Yi Hen was shocked and murmured, "Ancestor Yi Chong actually got involved with the corpse puppet. This. If it wasn't for what Yang Kai said, he couldn't believe it. The technique of corpse puppet is a forbidden technique in Chenyizong. How could Yi Chong study this? And actually refined himself into a corpse puppet. But Yang Kai obviously didn't have any reason to deceive him. He had already explained everything by bringing out Yi Chong's rings and handing them over to him. After being absent-minded for a long time, Yi Hen stood up, bowed and said, "Young Master Yang has shown great kindness to Chenyizong. Yi Hen will never forget it. Please accept Yi Hen's bow." Yi Jinghen also quickly bowed to salute. Yang Kai held him up and said, "Sect Master Yi is serious, it's nothing more than a little effort." Yi Hen went to know that this was not an easy task. Yang Kai entered the secret realm and met Yi Chong's corpse puppet. It must have also experienced a world-shattering battle, but Yang Kai didn't specify the situation of the battle, and Yi Hen didn't know how dangerous the battle was. Young Master Yang will be a friend of Chenyi sect in the future, but if there is a drive, I, Chenyi sect, will never refuse," Yi Hen said seriously. Yang Kai smiled and said, "Sect Master Yi, let's see if the things in this ring are what you think." Okay. Yi Hen couldn't wait to know if the sect's lost techniques and secret techniques were in the ring, and immediately began to crack the ring's restriction, without any intention of avoiding suspicion. Yi Jinghen stood aside, watching with anticipation and anxiety. This ring needs the power of blood to open, so the restriction is not difficult to break, but if there is no force of blood to break it, the ring will be destroyed immediately. It took only 10 breaths of time before and after, and a stream of light flashed across the quaint space ring, and Yang Kai immediately knew that the restriction had been broken. Yi Hen's spiritual thoughts surged, and he searched in the ring, his expression constantly changing. After a long time, Yi Hen withdrew his divine sense and sighed heavily. "Daddy." Seeing his appearance like this, Yi Jinghen's heart suddenly changed, thinking that the things in the ring had disappointed him. Her pretty face immediately changed color. Yi Hen waved his hand and said, "The lost things are all here." "Then why is Dad still sighing like this?" Yi Jinghen looked at Yi Hen with a puzzled face. It is a good thing to find the lost exercises and secret techniques, which means that Chenyizong has the capital to gradually become stronger. Now, I will never be powerless again in the future. Yi Hen smiled bitterly. "It's nothing, Jinghen, you go down first. Young Master Yang and I have something to say." Yi Jinghen hesitated for a moment, then nodded and said, "Yes." Nodded to Yang Kai, and slowly retreated. After Yi Jinghen left, Yi Hen looked at Yang Kai with a troubled face, as if he was a bit embarrassed. "Sect Master Yi may wish to speak directly." Yang Kai smiled slightly. Yi Hen said, "Then Yi has offended. May I ask young Master Yang what he thinks of the little girl Jinghen?" When Yang Kai heard it, he felt a little bad, but he still said the truth. "Miss Yi is firm and kind, not bad. It's been a while since I've been in contact with Yi Jinghen. Although I don't have a close friendship, Yang Kai still has a good impression of her." "How much does the little girl's appearance look like in young Master Yang's eyes?" Yi Hen asked again. Yang Kai thought this old guy was serious. After pondering for a while, he said, People who love her will naturally think that she is as beautiful as a fairy. I am afraid that Zhongju Yi can't ask me about this kind of thing. You might as well ask Brother Du Xian. Hearing what Yang Kai said, Yi Hen didn't bother to beat around the bush anymore. He clasped his fists together and said, Young Master Yang, Yi begs you to marry the little girl and take charge of the Chenny sect. Yi heard that young Master Yang doesn't have a sect, the old man is willing. Quote. Before he finished speaking, Yang Kai raised his hand and said lightly, Sect Master Yi, I can't do this thing of beating mandarin ducks with sticks, and I have no intention of joining Chenny sect. Yi Hen kept smiling wryly, and said, Yang Xiaoding thought that this old man is a snobbish person who sacrificed even his daughter's future happiness for his own selfish desires. It's just, the old man's life is not long, and no one in Chenny sect is qualified to be the suzerain now. If the old man lets go and goes west, where should the sect go? Yang Kai frowned and said, Du Xian is a good successor. Yi Hen sighed and said, Du Xian is indeed a good kid, but his cultivation level is not enough. Yang Kai smiled slightly, and said, Du Xian has Daoyuan 2-layer, dare to ask Yi Zhongju how high his cultivation was when he took over as the sect master. Yi Hen was stunned, thinking that when he took over as the head of the sect, he was only at the first level of Daoyuan, and Du Xian was a small level higher than him at that time. Yang Kai said again, What's more, now that the heavenly puppet of the Guizhong can once again serve as an envoy, there will be no strong men in this million miles, so what is sect master Yi afraid of? Yi Hen's eyes gradually brightened, nodded and said, Young Master Yang is right, the sky puppet can be driven again, what is the old man afraid of? I just hate that the old man is short. If I give the old man another 10 years, the old man will definitely be promoted to the emperor, your honor. If that happens, the Chenny sect will really have nothing to fear. Yang Kai's expression changed, and he asked, Sect Master Yi thinks that 10 years is enough to be promoted to Emperor Zun. Yi Hen said with a smile, the kung fu practiced by this old man is inherently flawed. Now that I have obtained the things left by the ancestor Yi Chong, if I can't be promoted to Emperor Zun in 10 years, wouldn't my life be in vain? Yang Kai realized that Yi Hen's aptitude is definitely top-notch, but he just came from a bad background. Now he has obtained the lost kung fu secret technique, which is enough to make up for that slight defect. In 10 years, I am afraid that he can really be promoted to Emperor Zun. It's a pity, the old man doesn't have that much time. Yi Hen sighed heavily, feeling sad for his ill-fated fate. It is precisely because there is not much time, so he came up with such a bad idea, wanting Yang Kai to marry Yi Jinghen as his wife, but now that Yang Kai enlightened him, his mind suddenly cleared up, and he didn't worry about it up. After finishing speaking, Yi Hen stood up and said, I'm not bothering young Master Yang today. The old man wants to go to the secret place to take a look, so I'll take my leave first. Yang Kai Dao. Since that's the case, then Sect Master Yi walked slowly. After a pause, he seemed to think of something again, and said, Sect Master Yi, maybe I will trouble you with something in a few days. Yi Hen smiled and said, Young Master Yang needs help from this old man. It is the honor of this old man and even Chen Yizong. Then Zhiguan will just ask. Then thank Sect Master Yi first. Yi Hen came here this time. Firstly, he wanted to ask Yang Kai if he had obtained the lost secret technique, which he was already satisfied with, and secondly, he wanted to propose marriage to Yi Jinghen, but it was a pity that Yang Kai refused. But after being rejected, not only was he not disappointed, but he was also relieved. He has always been watching the matter between Yi Jinghen and Du Xian, and he also knows that these two people are in love with each other. If Yang Kai really agrees to marry Yi Jinghen, Yi Hen may never have the face to face his daughter and disciple again. The two will absolutely hate him for the rest of their lives. He had no choice but to propose that for the sect's consideration. Now that I think about it, I feel that I am in a hurry to go to the doctor. From the beginning to the end, he didn't ask about Lu Yan, as if he didn't see Lu Yan driving the sky puppet, and he didn't ask where Lu Yan came from, why he came out of the secret realm with Yang Kai. To be continued. Chapter 2348 Emperor-level Alchemist. Sending Yi Hen away, Yang Kai greeted Kai Yu and the others, and then entered the retreat state. The cultivation base of Kai Yu and others is still too low. If they want to cultivate, panacea is indispensable. Yang Kai retreats to refine some pills for them. During this period of time, he has obtained a lot of spiritual grasses and elixir, which is enough to refine the elixir that allows Qiyu and others to cultivate to the Emperor Prestige realm, especially the Yuening pill that transforms the source power, which is especially important for Qiyu and others now. In the wing room, there was no sound except for the whirring of the fire from time to time. Yang Kai was immersed in alchemy. His level in the way of alchemy has always been equal to his own cultivation, so since he practiced until now, he seldom needs to buy elixir or something. The elixir he needs can be refined by himself and is self-sufficient. This time, he was promoted to the Daoyuan third layer realm in the Chenyiezong secret realm, and his strength has improved a lot, making Yang Kai feel that he is more and more handy in alchemy. With one furnace of condensed pills, he can usually make 7 or 8 pills, and if he is lucky, he can make a perfect number of 9 pills. You must know that even if an emperor-level alchemist personally refines Yuanning pills, he can only make 9 pills in one batch at most. Not only that, the quality of the Yuanning pills he refined is also very good. The Yuanning pills that gave birth to pill veins accounted for almost 1/10 of the total. This is true for Yuanning Dan, and the same is true for other panacea. In the first month of retreat, Yang Kai still needs to pay attention to the control of the heat, the depiction of the spirit array and the timing of the injection of medicinal materials when refining alchemy, but as time goes by, his refining Daoyuan level panacea is like eating and drinking water. Generally simple, completely subconscious action. There is no need to think too much at all, he even has time to practice in his spare time during alchemy. As soon as a furnace of spirit pills was released, Yang Kai's alchemy level also improved linearly, and at the same time. The Daoyuan third level realm he had just promoted has also gradually stabilized, and is no longer as vain as before. The second month passed, and he had consumed all the Daoyuan level spirit grasses and medicines in his body, refining them all into spirit pills. By the third month, he had already started alchemy with imperial medicinal materials. After testing more than 10 furnaces of medicinal materials, he finally refined a furnace of low-grade imperial-level panacea. The release of this low-grade emperor-level spirit pill represented that Yang Kai's alchemy level had truly entered the level of an emperor-level alchemist. It's just that he is not very proficient at the level of an emperor-level alchemist, and he needs a lot of spiritual herbs to practice. But even so, an emperor-level alchemist is extremely noble and rare in the entire star world. Yang Kai only needs to disclose this news. I'm afraid there is no sect that doesn't want to rush to win him over. Naturally, Yang Kai would not reveal the secret that he was an emperor-level alchemist. He studied alchemy, and it was for his own cultivation from the beginning to the end. The degree can only be said to be a coincidence. If he is really attracted by the big sects, then he will not have time to practice in the future. He must deal with medicinal materials all day long, and then refine the elixir for those big sects. Now think of it. The alchemy Tianyan triggered on the main Xingzhaoyuexing of the Hengluo Chamber of Commerce that time was the fundamental reason why he could become an emperor-level alchemist. Without that alchemy Tianyan, it would be impossible for him to grow to this level. Nadan Dao Tianyan, however, with Tian Dao as his teacher, he taught him many of the ultimate mysteries of alchemy that were born from the beginning of the world. His current method of collecting alchemy, the 9 Heavens Profound Alchemy Ju, was enlightened precisely because of that chance. After he was promoted to an emperor-level alchemist, Yang Kai began to use a batch of special spirit grass to refine spirit pills. This batch of special spiritual herbs was exactly the one he had obtained in the Emperor's Sky Valley in the Chenyi sect's secret realm. There are a lot of spirit grasses, because they live in Emperor Sky Valley all the year round. Therefore, each of them has absorbed the Emperor Yi Emperor Yun in the Emperor Sky Valley. The spirit pill refined from this batch of spirit grass and spirit fruit will definitely inherit the imperial charm perfectly. In other words, if you take these spirit pills, you can thoroughly comprehend the mystery of the Emperor's will from the inside out, the mystery of the Emperor's rhyme, and help the warriors at the third level of Daoyuan understand the realm of the Emperor's realm. What effect does the spirit pill itself have? Second, whether it is himself or watching see, they are all Daoyuan third layer realms, and they are extremely eager for this special panacea. It took Yanghua half a month to refine all the spirit grass and spirit fruits into spirit pills, and divided them into several shares. He took one of them himself, and left the other shares for watching see and others. It was the first time for Yang Kai to retreat for nearly 4 months, and he had been refining spirit pills. In the past, he used to retreat for cultivation. Even if he did alchemy occasionally, it would not take such a long time. After leaving the customs, divine sense swept out, and Yang Kai found that watching Si and others were all gone, and he didn't know where they went. It was the rich aura filling the world that lifted his spirits. Compared with 4 months ago, the richness of the aura in Chen Yizong has undoubtedly risen several levels. Although it is not comparable to his mysterious small world or the aura inside the secret realm, it has indeed improved a lot. Yang Kai guessed that this was because the entrance to the secret realm was completely opened. Yi Jinghan had told him before that the secret realm was the source of Chen Yizong's aura, and it was because the entrance to the secret realm was closed that the Chen Yizong's aura was insufficient, and the cultivation speed of the disciples was not satisfactory. Now that Yang Kai repaired the cross-boundary space array, Yi Hen naturally opened the entrance immediately, allowing the spiritual energy in the secret territory to flow into the sect. This is only a few months' change. If Chen Yizong is given a little more time, maybe the aura will be more intense, and many disciples will be able to practice more effectively with half the effort. The background of Chen Yi sect is indeed good. If it weren't for the tens of thousands of years of silence, it would definitely be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with Qingyang Temple and other major sects now. At this moment, a stream of light suddenly entered Yang Kai's eyes, flying from far to near. The streamer was so fast that Yang Kai had just discovered it before it appeared in front of him. When the streamer flashed away, revealing the figure hidden in the light, Yang Kai couldn't help but widen his eyes, and looked forward in amazement. This streamer is a snow-white tiger. The tiger is tall and mighty, awe-inspiring, and the ferocious aura is exposed, which makes Yang Kai feel a little frightened, and he rushes forward. The white tiger roars softly, and a gust of wind rushes towards his face. Come. Heavenly puppet. Yang Kai raised his eyebrows. If he had never seen Chen Yizong's sky puppet before, Yang Kai would have thought it was a 13th-order monster, but at this moment he knew that this white tiger was not a living thing at all, but a sky puppet. Lu Yan's small head poked out from the white tiger's spacious back, widened his eyes and said in surprise, "Master, have you left the customs?" Yang Kai glanced at her, and said with a straight face, "Why did you ride the white tiger over here?" Lu Yan pouted and said, "Xiao Bai is mine now, and I have the freedom to ride wherever I go." Yang Kai's eyes widened, but he soon realized what Lu Yan meant, and immediately said with joy, "You did it beautifully." He was thinking about how to talk to Yi Hen, and get a pair of sky puppets from Chen Yizong to play with, but he didn't want Yi Hen to be so good at it. He had already given Lu Yan one before he opened his mouth. Isn't Lu Yan's his? But this name, why is Xiao Bai again? Yang Kai suddenly thought of Mo Xiaoqi. This little girl has a bunch of beasts in her hands, such as little white, little black, little red, little blue, little yellow. I didn't name those pet beasts seriously, and I don't know what mood those beasts are in. Are all girls like this? Lu Yan jumped down from the back of the white tiger and landed lightly. Seeing Yang Kai staring at his pet beast non-stop, he immediately poured a basin of cold water over. This is not the white tiger, this is the white tiger. It's the other one. Huh, Yang Kai was disappointed when he heard it. Why don't you want that white tiger? Although he didn't know the grade of the white tiger he saw last time, Yang Kai reckoned that it was definitely the top puppet. Although the shape of this one in front of him was similar, it was definitely not as good as that one. Lu Yan said, "The 4-elephant heavenly puppet is the heavenly puppet of Chen Yi sect. Those who suppress the luck of this side cannot be taken away." Yang Kai Dao. Then how strong is this little white? Let's go to the first level of Emperor Zun, if you can use it to the limit. Lu Yan replied without thinking. The corner of Yang Kai's mouth twitched, and said, "Is there anything more powerful?" Lu Yan thought for a while, and said, "Yes." After a pause, she took it for granted, "But it's not as good looking as this one, and the others look all kinds of strange, I don't like it." "It looks good." Yang Kai was about to die of anger. Strength is king. Lu Yan's small face darkened, and he snorted, "If I have a pockmarked and mangy face and disgust you every day in front of you, how would you feel?" Yang Kai was stunned for a while, and after thinking for a long time, he was speechless. He suddenly felt, what Lu Yan said made sense. Forget it, the first level of Emperor Senior is the first level of Emperor Senior, it's better than nothing. Yang Kai sighed, feeling that this great opportunity was in front of him, but Lu Yan missed it. It is obviously unrealistic to go to Yi Hen to change one now, and Yang Kai can't hold back this face. It is very generous for Yi Hen to be the master and give Lu Yan away. Lu Yan said, "Don't underestimate it, Xiao Bai runs fast, maybe it can save your life sometime." Yang Kai chuckled and said, "I would like to know why Yi Hen gave you this." Because I explained to him the way of controlling puppets. Lu Yan smiled slightly. Her spiritual puppet body was born to control all the puppets of Chen Yizong. Teacher, it is enough for Yi Hen to grope for many years. Yi Hen was grateful, so he naturally gave her one. What about the others? Come back soon, they have been helping Chen Yizong rebuild the sect during this time. While speaking, Yang Kai had already seen Kai Yu and the others flying towards them. In a short while, everyone fell down one by one. After seeing Yang Kai, they were naturally overjoyed, and they all came up to ask him about the situation of his retreat. Yang Kai answered one by one, and he found that Chai Hu's cultivation base had also been fully restored, from Void King Realm to Dao Source Realm, and it seemed that the poison in his body had been completely removed. To be continued. Chapter 2349 Future Plans. In the side room, Yang Kai, Kai Yu and the others formed a circle, listening to them talk about what happened in the past few months. In fact, there is nothing to say. Ever since Chu Zi brought people to Chen Yizong to cause trouble, but was wiped out by the entire army, the news that shocked the world spread like wildfire. Everyone in the sect was panicked, and after a few days, these sects sent people to ask for peace, shifting all responsibility to the dead person, expressing that they and others knew nothing about what happened that time. This is of course nonsense, and no fool would believe such excuses. However, these sects all brought abundant supplies, saying that they were to make up for Chen Yizong's loss in that battle, and they had the intention of being attached to them, so Yi Hen didn't kill them all. If it was before, the Chen Yi sect definitely did not have the strength and confidence to subdue these sects, but now that the sky puppet is born, there are quite a few emperors in the sect who sit in town all the year round, who would dare to provoke them in a million miles around. Yi Hen agreed to their request to attach to Chen Yizong, and then let them go back. In other words, Chen Yizong is the only overlord within a million miles. It is conceivable that after occupying such a large territory, the development of Chiba sect will definitely flourish. Did Zhao Gong come that day? Yang Kai asked suspiciously. Kai Yu said, here we come. The third elder of Tianzhou Palace came in person and brought a lot of things. I'm afraid that sect master Yi will wipe them out. Yang Kai smiled slightly. Then Chu Yu is willing. Chu Zi is his father and died in Chen Yi sect. I'm afraid Chu Yu won't let it go. Ghost Ancestor said. So what if you don't like it? In order to please Chen Yizong, Tianzhou Palace has already expelled Chu Yu from the gate wall, and even abolished his cultivation base. Now he is no longer the young palace master of Tianzhou Palace, but a man waiting to die. Yang Kai sneered. The third elder of Tianzhou Palace is also a ruthless generation. Yang Kai didn't know who these three elders were, but he estimated that this guy was afraid that Chu Yu would take revenge on him in the future, so he directly abolished Chu Yu's cultivation. Drive him out of Tianzhou Palace. It is understandable for him to do so. If he wants to keep Tianzhou Palace, he can only show weakness to Chen Yizong. Chu Yu is Chu Zi's only son. His father died in Chen Yizong. Naturally, he wants to avenge Chu Zi. Think about it. A few months ago, Chu Yu was still proud of his spring breeze, but after a few months, he became like a bereaved dog, and Yang Kai couldn't help but sigh a little. The way of cultivation. One wrong step and you will be doomed. If Chu Zi and others were not too aggressive, how could those sects have fallen to this point? Boy Yang, we have something to discuss with you. Io said suddenly. What's the matter? Yang Kai looked at them suspiciously. Kai Yu and the others looked at each other. Ji Yu Kangyan said, brother, tell me. Ghost Ancestor nodded, and then said, it's like this. We discussed briefly and wanted to join Chen Yi sect. I don't know what the sect master thinks. Do you want to join Chen Yi sect? Yang Kai raised his eyebrows. Ghost Ancestor said, that's right. Besides, sect master Yi also mentioned this matter to us before. It's just that we didn't agree before you left the customs, so I want to ask your opinion. Yang Kai turned his head to look at them and asked, are you really wanting to join? Kai Yu smiled bitterly, said, since we entered the star realm, we have been suffering from the cold and warm of the world. We have thought about which sect we want to join before, but we have no strength, no connections, and no way to enter. Now sect master Yi personally invitation, and we don't want to miss this opportunity. Ji Yu Kangyan said, sect master Yang, you have not joined the sect either. You should know the difficulties of cultivating alone. I understand. Yang Kai nodded. He walked all the way. Although it is smooth sailing, it does not have all the conveniences of sect disciples. It is understandable for Chi Yu and others to want to join Chen Yi sect. After pondering for a while, he said, This is a good thing, Sect Master Yi personally invited you, it is enough to show sincerity, since you are all interested, then it is better to stay. He was still thinking about how to arrange Guizhu and others in the future. Originally, he was thinking whether to bring them to the Qingyang Temple, but he was not too important a person in the Qingyang Temple, so it would be inappropriate to ask Wen Zishan to take them in hastily. Even though Yang Kai knew that if he spoke, Wen Zishan would definitely not refuse the matter, but joining the Qingyang Temple through the back door like this would definitely be despised by others. The Qingyang Temple is not a small sect. But Yi Hen's invitation surprised him a little. The Chenyi sect is still waiting to be rejuvenated, it is the time to employ people, and the future is bright. Kai Yu and the others stay here, it might not be a good place to go. Just because he restored the entrance to the secret realm and brought back the lost skills and secret techniques to Chenyizong, Yi Hen would never treat his friends badly in the future. You agree? Kai Yu asked. Yang Kai smiled and said, this is a matter for the seniors, why do I disagree? What about you? Where are you going? Io looked at him and asked. Yang Kai pondered for a moment, and said, I want to find Xiao Xiao. These companions who came from the hometown star field, except for the fallen Wu Dao, have already found the others, but Xiao Xiao's whereabouts are unknown. Yang Kai is very worried, if he does not find it, Yang Kai will not feel at ease for a day. How to find it? Kai Yu frowned slightly, I don't know, I might go to Huang Quanzong and find that Yin Lesheng. Maybe he has some clues. When he came out of the Starlight Passage, Yang Kai and Lu Shanyan from the Great Desolation Star Territory landed near the Jade Feather Sect, and then joined the Jade Feather Sect together, and Kai Yu and others landed in Sky Crane City together nearby. Looking at it this way, Xiao Xiao might be together with Yin Lesheng who also came from the Great Wilderness Starfield. If you find Yin Lesheng, you may be able to find a small clue. He still remembered that Yin Lesheng said that he was a disciple of the Netherworld Sect. There was the Netherworld Sect in the Great Desolation Star Territory, and there was also the Netherworld Sect in the Star Realm. However, he didn't know where the Netherworld Sect in the Star Realm was. Inquire about it. You have to be careful, Qing Luo and the others are still waiting for you. Kai Yu exhorted solemnly. They had also met Yin Lesheng face to face, knowing that the Netherworld Sect should be a big sect in the Star Realm, Yang Kai and Yin Lesheng forging hatred in the Starlight Channel. If they meet again, the other party will definitely not let it go, not to mention, Yin Lesheng also knows that Yang Kai is the Star Master, and wants to snatch his star origin. The origin of the stars is a rare thing in the star world. It can help warriors understand the power of laws, and everyone is jealous. I understand. Yang Kai smiled slightly, for the sake of them, I will never risk my life. Afterwards, Yang Kai took out the spirit pill coefficient that he had refined during this period of time, handed it over to Kai Yu and the others, and left them a large number of source crystals. These are things that Kai Yu and the others are in urgent need of. Even though they knew that Yang Kai might be doing well, it was obvious that he took out so many spirit pills and source crystals, and everyone was still taken aback. Think about a year ago, in order to buy yuening pills, they went to and from various dangerous places, fighting monsters in exchange for yuanjing, and then used yuanjing to buy yuening pills, but even so, they could only buy dozens of pills each time. Look. These dozens of source condensate pills have to be shared equally by several people, and if each person gets less than 10 pills, they will be used up in a few days, and then they have to go out to hunt monsters, and it will start again and again. But now the Yuan Ning pill that Yang Kai took out is more than a few thousand. Such a large panacea is enough for them to transform all their own power into source power. There are also other panaceas used in various cultivations, and many panaceas have produced pill patterns. Chai Hu was particularly shocked, only then did he know that Yang Kai's alchemy level was so high. An hour later, Yang Kai went to visit Yi Hen. Yi Hen seemed to be retreating, but when he heard that Yang Kai was coming, he was very happy to go out to greet him. After the two sat down, Yi Hen hurriedly said, Yi was supposed to go to pay a visit to young Master Yang, but young Master Yang came by himself instead of him. Yi is rude. Yang Kai smiled slightly and said, Sect Master Yi is polite. After ordering someone to serve tea, Yi Hen asked, I don't know if young Master Yang has come to look for Yi this time, what do you need to order? Even though Chenyi sect has become the overlord of this place, and Yi Hen's status has also risen, he still hasn't lost his composure, and still keeps his low profile in front of Yang Kai. Seeing him like this, Yang Kai knew that Yi Hen was definitely not the kind of ungrateful person, and he was completely relieved that Kai Yu and others chose to stay here. I don't dare to obey the order, but my seniors told me that they want to stay in Chenyi sect. I came here just to ask Sect Master Yi to take care of you in the future. Yang Kai said warmly. Yi Hen laughed loudly, and said, young Master Yang is outrageous when he said this. Chenyi sect was able to come back to life, thanks to young Master Yang's own efforts to turn the tide, not to mention taking care of them, because young Master Yang wanted me to be the suzerain. Yi Mo didn't frown either. This old guy, is he still thinking about recruiting himself? Yang Kai sneered inwardly, waved his hands and said, I won't stay, I still have things to do. Yi Hen didn't react too much when he heard the words, maybe what he said just now was just the last test, he said with a hearty smile. Then you won't say anything, I just hope young Master Yang will be free in the future, come to Chenyi Zong to sit more, Chenyi Zong will greet each other upside down. If Kai Yu and the others stay here, Yang Kai will definitely not stop coming. Yang Kai has great potential, so it is absolutely right to have a good relationship with him. Although Yi Hen is old, his eyesight is very sharp, so he naturally understands this truth. Naturally, Yang Kai smiled slightly, changed the subject, and said, last time I heard Sect Master Yi say that if you were given 10 years, you would surely be able to be promoted to Emperor Zun. When Yi Hen heard this, his expression became solemn, and he said, it was Yi who made a mistake last time. Huh, Yang Kai was stunned. Yi Hen said proudly, if there are another 5 years, Yi can be promoted to Emperor Zun. The exercises and secret techniques left by Yi Chong's ancestors are extremely effective for Yi. The more you understand during this period, the more powerful you feel. If you can gain something, if you can fully comprehend it, it may not take 5 years at all. It's a pity. At this point, he sighed, I don't know if I can last that long with my body. Unfinished to be continued. Chapter 2350 Time Pill. Yi Hen was already at the end of his life. The last battle made his physical condition worse, so this statement is not a lie. If he can break through the shackles and be promoted to Emperor Zun before he dies, he will naturally be gone. As far as the deadline is concerned, his lifespan will also increase by then, but if he cannot be promoted, then he can only return to ashes. Now he just hates that time doesn't wait for me. But I can't blame others for this matter, I can only feel that my luck is not good. If I can get to know Yang Kai a few years earlier, maybe he is now in Emperor Senior stage. Yang Kai turned his palms over, took out a jade box, slowly pushed it in front of Yi Hen, and said, this spirit pill should be of some help to Sect Master Yi. This is. Yi Hen looked at Yang Kai suspiciously, not knowing why he suddenly took out a spirit pill for himself, but he obviously knew that Yang Kai was an alchemist, so he didn't dare to neglect, took it quickly, and the jade box is opened. In the jade box, a longan-sized panacea with an inexplicable halo flowed into his eyes, and the fresh fragrance lingered around the tip of his nose. Yi Hen sniffed the fragrance of the pill, his expression was startled, and he felt that he seemed much younger for no reason. He lost his voice. Young Master Yang, what kind of pill is this? Although he had never seen this kind of panacea, but just Danxiang made him feel that way, which shows that this panacea is definitely not bad. Moreover, Yang Kai can even refine something that defies the sky like the Tai Miao pill, so how can he make a shot? I don't know if Sect Master Yi has heard of Time Pill. Yang Kai asked unhurriedly. Saiyu pill. Yi Hen raised his brows, and then his body shook violently, exclaiming, is this Suiyu pill? Judging by his reaction, it is obvious that he knows Sui Yuewen. In the Star World, there are many treasures that prolong life, but all of them are extinct in legends. Not to mention that Yi Hen is only at the 3rd level of Daoyuan, even those at the Emperor Senior level cannot get it. Yi Hen knew that his time was approaching, and he had thought about finding these panaceas for prolonging life, but let alone no clues for such things. Even if there were clues, it would not be his turn to find Yi Hen. Emperor Senior Realm went to fight for it. So Yi Hen also resigned to his fate. During this period of time, he has been retreating to comprehend those lost and recovered exercises and secret techniques, hoping to break through the shackles and be promoted to Emperor Zun before he dies. Even if he is not promoted, Yi Jinghen must leave. Her own perception saved her from taking some detours. But at this moment, there is a time pill in front of Yi Hen. He has learned in detail what kind of panacea in the Star World can prolong life, so he naturally knows the efficacy of the Suiyu pill. Strictly speaking, Suiyu pill does not have the effect of prolonging life, because it cannot increase a person's lifespan. Its effect is mainly to make the physical condition of the person taking it go back decades. In other words, after taking this zhenwu pill, Yi Hen's physical condition will regress to decades ago, which can be regarded as a disguised form of prolonging life. Of course, this kind of retrogression also has great limitations. It is impossible to eliminate the injuries suffered by the person who took it. If even the injuries can be reversed to a few decades ago and then eliminated, then the efficacy of the zhenwu dan is too heaven-defying. And the time pill that Yang Kai took out has at least 50 years of effect. Yi Hen couldn't believe that he would encounter such a good thing. He was complaining that he didn't wait for me. He had an ambition but didn't have enough time to display it. Yang Kai gave him a time pill, and he was so excited for a while. Can't help myself. He didn't doubt Yang Kai, because he knew that Yang Kai had been to the land of 4 seasons and the Temple of Time, and the main material of the zhenwu pill, the zhenwu fruit, came from the Temple of Time. Yang Kai obviously obtained the fruit of time, so he was able to refine this panacea. Although the effect of the year's pill is only a few decades, but for Yi Hen right now, this pill is the best panacea in the world. Even if he has to pay everything, he is willing to buy it. Yang Kai gave it to him directly. Isn't this just what the world calls sending charcoal in a timely manner? With this time pill, what else does he need to worry about? It only needs to be closed for a few years, and then hit the Emperor Prestige realm, and he is 90% sure that he will be able to hit the success. The bright future is slowly unfolding in front of him like a picture scroll. He seems to have seen that he led Chen Yizong to recover a moment of glory. After being emotionally agitated for a while, Yi Hen calmed down slowly, and after standing up, he bowed to Yang Kai to the end. Yi Hen has repeatedly received Yang Xiao's great kindness, and there is no way to repay it. I swear here that Yi Hen and Chen Yizong will be together. Treat Yang Xiao as your best friend, and you will never refuse what you ask for in the future. If you violate this oath, Yi Hen and the descendants of the Yi family will be haunted by demons and burn their bodies to death. Yi Hen said the oath very quickly, and decisively, without the slightest hesitation. Before Yang Kai could react, he had already made the oath. The next moment, an invisible force seemed to pour into Yi Hen's body, imprinting on his sea of consciousness. Yang Kai was stunned for a moment, then smiled wryly. Sect Master Yi, it doesn't have to be like this. He clearly knew what was going on with Yi Hen's oath. It was a big oath of the heart demon. Yi Hen made an oath based on his own foundation, and there was no possibility of repenting in the future. Once he violated it, he would really know the heart demon haunted, burned to death. Moreover, his heart demon oath is not related to him alone, it also includes Yi Jinghan and the future descendants of the Yi family. The reason why Yang Kai took out the time pill and gave it to Yi Hen was mainly because Kai Yu and the others were here. Although the sky puppet of Chenyi sect can be driven now, the biggest shortcoming of Chenyi sect is still not being in the Emperor Senior stage. People underestimate. From the perspective of Kai Yu and others, Yang Kai also hopes that Yi Hen can be promoted to Emperor Senior and protect them. So Yang Kai refined the years of time fruit that he got before into the years of time pill, and made up his mind to give Yi Hen one. Who knows that in exchange for Yi Hen's return? Yi Hen slowly shook his head and said, Young Master Yang has shown great gratitude to my Yi family and Chenyi sect, so what's the point of making a mere oath? Young Master Yang, don't worry, Kai Yu and the others will take good care of me, and I will never let you they lose a hair. Then thank Sect Master Yi first. With Yi Hen's heart demon oath, Yang Kai was completely relieved, knowing that unless Chenyi sect was destroyed, Kai Yu and others would never be in any danger. With the current background of Chenyi sect, unless those top sects take action personally, no one can destroy it. By the way, Sect Master Yi, I want to inquire about something with you. Yang Kai changed the subject and said. Yi Hen said, Young Master Yang has any orders, but it's okay to say. I wonder how much Sect Master Yi knows about a sect called Wangquan sect. 3 days later, Yang Kai set off from Chenyi sect, and Yi Hen went back to retreat immediately after getting the year's fruit, probably because he couldn't wait to refine the medicinal effect, and then continue to comprehend those secret techniques and so on. Yi Jinghan, Kai Yu and the others saw each other off all the way, sending Yang Kai thousands of miles away. Kai Yu and the others were naturally somewhat reluctant to part with Yang Kai. After all, they had finally reunited in Star Boundary, and Yang Kai was about to leave, but everyone knew that Yang Kai cared about Xiao Xiao, so they didn't stop him, just told him to be careful in everything. Yang Kai naturally kept it in mind. On a piece of wilderness, Yang Kai paused, glanced at everyone, and said, Everyone, go back, I will come to see you again someday. Ghost Ancestor smiled and said, Sect Master, you must be well, we are all waiting for you to create another sect in this star world, and we will go to help you when the time comes. Yongkai nodded and said, there will always be such a day. After finishing speaking, he turned his head to look at Chai-Hu, and said with a complicated expression, Senior Chai-Hu, are you coming or me? The question was thoughtless, but everyone didn't show any surprise. They seemed to know what he meant. Chai-Hu sighed slightly and said, I'll come, Sect Master Yang, have a good journey. Then you guys just leave here, and we will meet again someday. Yongkai clasped his fists together, then sacrificed his own wooden boat and galloped off into the distance. At this moment, a stream of light suddenly shot out from behind a small mound next to it. A delicate body was wrapped in the stream of light. It looked like a woman. As soon as this person came out, he waved a handle. The long sword stabbed straight at Yongkai, and yelled in the mouth, I will kill you. Yongkai glanced at her lightly, sighed slightly in his heart, and didn't intend to do anything to her. The person who was ambushing here and wanted to kill him by surprise was Luo Bing. It's just been a few months since I haven't seen her. Luo Bing has long lost the beauty and innocence of the past. Now she looks tired, her beautiful eyes are dim, her breath is unstable, and her clothes are no longer bright. Life is not going well. She is Luo Jin's daughter. When Luo Jin was in charge of Sky Crane City, he did many bad things. Now that Luo Jin died, those who had been oppressed in Sky Crane City would naturally have revenge and revenge. Luo Jin was dead, so they naturally wanted to find Luo Bing. Fortunately, Luo Bing was a pretty good person, and some guards of the city lord's mansion were also loyal to her, covering her escape from Sky Crane City, but these days have been hiding in Tibet, and she did not spend a single day safely. Thinking that she had always been the little princess of Tianhe City before, and she was used to being pampered, but her life suddenly went from heaven to hell, which made her feel at a loss. I don't know where she got the news from. She knew that her father died at the hands of Yongkai, and she was lying here to avenge Luo Jin by killing Yongkai. But her cultivation is only at the first level of Void King, and Yongkai and his group are all Daoyuan, and everyone can feel her aura as soon as they come here. The reason why no one has broken it is because everyone knows her identity. The sword light was bright, but Luo Bing's sword didn't have the slightest killing intent, and her beautiful eyes were also gloomy, obviously knowing that it was unrealistic to kill Yongkai with her own strength. She ambushed here, probably just begging for death, hoping that Yongkai would kill her directly in anger. But what she never expected was that Yongkai just glanced at her and ignored her. To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn update group at Woaishao. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2351 Gaocheng. Chapter 2351 Gaocheng. The icy long sword shattered the sky, moving forward indomitably, just like Luo Bing's icy and determined heart. This sword was destined to stab through the air, because the strength gap between Luo Bing and Yongkai was too great. She was still halfway, and Yongkai had already disappeared with the wooden boat. But this sword did not stab the air. A burly figure suddenly appeared in front of Luo Bing, looking at her with pity and complexity. Luo Bing couldn't hold back, and with a soft puff, the long sword pierced directly into the chest of this burly body. The sword penetrated 3 inches, and blood spattered. Luo Bing stayed in place for a moment, completely stupefied, staring blankly at the tall figure, and lost his voice, Brother Chai. The person who suddenly stood in front of her and let the long sword stab into her chest turned out to be Chai-Hu. With Chai-Hu's cultivation at the first level of Daoyuan, it is absolutely easy to avoid this sword. Even if he doesn't want to dodge, he can easily block it by running the source power, but he didn't do that, but let Luo Bing vented the sword out. Luo Bing, who was determined to die, finally panicked. She came here to ambush and attack. She didn't plan to go back alive. She couldn't kill Yongkai. She would die in Yongkai's hands, and go to the underworld to reunite with her father. She came here with the determination to die, but she hurt Chai-Hu. Chai-Hu's chest was soon soaked with bright red, and Luo Bing's pupils dilated suddenly. The bright red seemed to cover all the light in front of her eyes, filling her whole world with this terrifying bloody light. The huge mental shock made Luo Bing's tender body go limp, and she almost fell to the ground. Chai-Hu reached out to support her, not only supported her, but also took her arms directly, and then slowly dragged her towards him. Luo Bing was powerless to resist, and it didn't matter if she was dragged by Chai-Hu, but the sharp sword in her hand was still stuck in Chai-Hu's chest, and when she moved, the sharp sword also penetrated deeper. Chi chi chi. The sound of metal rubbing against flesh and blood was so ear-piercing, the long sword pierced through his chest in the blink of an eye. Luo Bing's pretty face turned white in an instant, and he shouted in panic, "Brother Chai, what are you doing? Stop it." Quote. But no matter how she shouted, Chai Hu was unmoved. Kai Yu and the others also changed their faces greatly. They never expected that Chai Hu would do such a thing. When they reacted, Chai Hu had already pulled Luo Bing to his chest, and said in a low voice, "Young Master Yang killed your father, and I will pay it back for him. Don't do anything to him. Stop it, I won't take revenge, I won't seek revenge from him, Brother Chai, let go." Luo Bing burst into tears, feeling the warmth soaking in his chest. He didn't know is that Chai Hu's blood. She was at a loss all of a sudden, her heart was filled with self-blame, and she felt that if she hadn't come here to make a fuss over her own strength, Chai Hu would never have acted like this. She has not known Chai Hu for a long time, and they are not familiar with each other, but at the most difficult and dangerous time for her, it was Chai Hu who descended from the sky to save her and was in dire straits. His own selfishness, but Luo Bing has never been able to forget the stalwart figure that suddenly appeared. The girl's feelings were suddenly touched at that moment, and a figure was cast on the softest part of her heart. The past few months of wandering made her miss the feeling of safety even more. The faint feelings are like old wine in a cellar, constantly fermenting in her heart, and the figure buried in her heart is becoming clearer and lingering. But when they met again at this moment, her long sword actually pierced into the opponent's chest and came out through the body, killing the opponent's half-life in one fell swoop. 10 years of being pampered and carefree, is this moment of heartbreaking in exchange for it? If this is the case, she would rather she had no food or clothing for more than 10 years, but also wanted him to be safe and sound. Go away. In fury, Kai Yu swung out one hand, and directly threw Luo Bing into the air, landing heavily on the ground. Gui Zhu and the others hurried forward to check on Chai Hu's injuries. After Luo Bing landed, he didn't take his own situation into consideration at all. Instead, he scrambled and ran towards Chai Hu, with a pretty face that was already crying, and his face was full of self-blame and regret. After a while, Ghost Ancestor exhaled lightly and said, "Fortunately, it didn't hurt the heart, it's not too serious." While speaking, he reached out and took out an elixir and stuffed it into Chai Hu's mouth. With a shock of yuanli, the long sword flew out, and then the force was poured into his body to dissolve the medicine's effect and heal his wounds. "I'll take him back to heal his wounds first," Guizhu said, already carrying Chai Hu and galloping towards Chen Yizong. Before leaving, Chai Hu coughed lightly. "Don't embarrass her, she also has her own difficulties." Kai Yu sighed. What is this? Today's commotion is inexplicable, but Kai Yu also faintly sees something wrong. There seems to be something wrong with her fourth brother and the little princess of Sky Crane City. After a short while, everyone else left completely, only Kai Yu stood where she was still frowning. On the other hand, Luo Bing was half kneeling on the ground, looking at the direction where Chai Hu left, weeping bitterly, and murmured, "I won't take revenge, Brother Chai, don't die." She kept repeating this sentence, and her tears fell like pearls with a broken thread, but she forgot that Chai Hu had already gone far away and couldn't hear him at all. Seeing her like this, Kai Yu couldn't help feeling a bit of compassion, and said in a deep voice, "He won't die, your sword didn't hurt him too much." Hearing this, Luo Bing suddenly raised her head and looked at Kai Yu, crying with relief, thank you." While speaking, she folded her hands together, closed her beautiful eyes facing the sky, and let the tears slide down her cheeks. "Hey, take care of yourself." After Kai Yu finished speaking, she flickered and followed everyone away. Luo Bing was left alone to pray piously, and the wilderness was filled with poignant beauty. A month later, Yang Kai came to a city called Gaocheng. This city is probably located on the border of the Southern Territory, not far from the Eastern Territory. The reason why he came here was because he was going to the Netherworld sect to find out some little news from that Yin Lesheng. According to his guess, after Xiao Xiao came out of the Starlight Tunnel, it was very likely that he would end up with Yin Lesheng. As for how to inquire at that time, Yang Kai can only adapt to the situation, he can't directly find Yin Lesheng. After all, there is still hatred between the two, and the other party also knows that he has the origin of the stars. The Netherworld sect has considerable power in the eastern region, and it is definitely a sect that can rival the Qingyang Temple. This information was told to him by Yi Hen, and Yi Hen also told him that in the entire star world, the southern region has the least training materials, and the aura of heaven and earth is relatively thin, so the overall level of warriors is relatively low. However, in the other three major domains, the overall level of warriors is much higher than that of the southern domain. In the eastern region, there are absolutely no less than 10 powerful sects such as the Wangquan sect, while there are only 4 in the southern region, which shows the gap. There is also a hegemony-level sect in the eastern region, and the Ghost Palace, which was founded by the great emperor Yuewen among the 10 great emperors, is in the eastern region. There are even rumors that the famous Spirit Beast Island and Dragon Island are both on the East China Sea, but no one can confirm whether this is the case. After all, these 2 great god islands are too ethereal for ordinary warriors. It seems that under the influence of the Ghost Emperor, many sects and warriors in the eastern region have practiced some evil skills. For example, the Wangquan sect is one of them. Therefore, the cultivation atmosphere of the entire eastern region is completely different from that of the southern region. If you walk in the eastern region, you must be careful everywhere, you might run into some evildoers who will take your life. During this month, Yang Kai passed through many cities, and used the space magic circle in those cities, otherwise, he would never be able to reach Gaocheng on the border of the southern territory in a month. If flying alone, with Yang Kai's current speed and cultivation base, he might not be able to come here after flying for decades. The vastness of the star world is beyond his imagination. After arriving in Gaocheng, Yang Kai did not rush into the eastern territory, but first found an inn to stay. Because this is the junction of the eastern region and the southern region, you can not only see warriors from the southern region in Gaocheng, but also many warriors from the eastern region. He stayed here just to find out about the general situation of the eastern region, especially it is the case of Wangquanzong, so as not to rush into the eastern region when it is time to get black eyes. On the streets of Gaocheng, among the warriors walking the rivers and streams, many of them exude a rebellious, evil and violent aura, and even their appearance is fierce, ferocious and terrifying. It can be seen that they are from the eastern region certain sects. Moreover, the law and order in Gao City was also extremely chaotic. Although there was a city lord's mansion and even strong men were in charge, Yang Kai had only been here for less than a day, and he saw several fights and even killed a few people. This matter is absolutely unimaginable in Fenggalan City, not to mention Fenggalan City, even some other cities in the southern region will not have this kind of thing happen. When those fights happened, Yang Kai obviously felt that there were many powerful people hiding around, but no one dissuaded them at all. It was not until the fight was over that those hidden strong people suddenly appeared and captured all the fighters, peel off the space ring of the dead warrior, and leave the corpse on the street like this. These strong men are obviously from the city lord's mansion. Judging from their behavior, it seems that they wish the warriors would fight bloody in the city, so that they can have an excuse to take people and then make some extra money for themselves. Yang Kai didn't intend to cause trouble. He wanted to find a tea house or restaurant to stay for a few days, because in these places, dragons and snakes mixed together, and he could eavesdrop on some information he wanted. After inquiring about it, Yang Kai went to the biggest Yuding tea house in Gao City. After a while, Yang Kai came to the front of the tea house. Looking around, the tea house was built in a very grand style, with a height of 5 floors. In this chaotic place where every inch of land is expensive, there can be such a tea house. It can be seen that the background of the owner of the tea house is not small, and it is very likely to be related to the city lord's mansion. Yang Kai walked in, and immediately the waiter greeted him enthusiastically. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. Chapter 2352 Never Died. Yang Kai found a place on the 3rd floor, ordered a pot of high-quality spiritual tea, and sat there quietly, listening to the high-spirited discussions of tea guests from all over the world. The warriors who came here to drink tea have different levels of cultivation, but the information they inadvertently revealed while chatting is what Yang Kai needs. After sitting in the tea house for a long time, the tea customers around changed from group to group, but only Yang Kai remained motionless. He really found out a lot of useful information. It's a pity that no one talked about the Netherworld sect, which made him a little disappointed. He secretly felt that if he wanted to inquire about the situation of the Netherworld sect, he probably needed to enter the eastern region first. Just when Yang Kai was about to leave, a not-so-weak energy surge suddenly appeared not far from the opposite street, as if someone had done it. Yang Kai is no stranger to this. The law and order in Gaocheng is chaotic, and fights happen from time to time. As long as he doesn't provoke himself, it will be fine. The energy fluctuations came and went quickly, and the strength gap between the two sides in the fight seemed to be quite large. Immediately afterwards, a graceful figure flew out from a medicine shop opposite, and this figure spit out a mouthful of blood in midair, and immediately landed heavily, and didn't get up for a while. It seemed that the injury was serious. A big bald man jumped out of the medicine shop, and shouted ferociously, "The bitch dares to come to my treasure building to make trouble. This time it's just a warning, if there is another time, I will kill you, get out." After finishing the drink, the big man cast a contemptuous glance at the woman who had fallen on the ground, and walked back to the shop calmly. The warriors on the street saw this scene, and they seemed to be used to it. No one sympathized with the injured woman, but felt that this woman was really unlucky, and dared to cause trouble in Jubaolo. Yang Kaiban didn't intend to meddle in other people's business. But when he glanced casually and saw the woman's appearance clearly, he couldn't help being startled, and said in astonishment, "Shanyan." This woman turned out to be Lu Shanyan. That Lu Shanyan who came from the great wilderness starfield like Yin Lesheng. Back then, he and Lu Shanyan were forced to join the Jade Feather sect, so it was a common hardship, but Wumeng Mountain escaped later. Killing all directions, with a cruel and violent heart, Yang Kai feared that he would implicate Lu Shanyan, so he parted ways with her after escaping from the Jade Feather sect. Over the past few years, I didn't expect to meet again at the border of the southern region. It's just that Lu Shanyan's situation is not very good. She is only at the first level of Daoyuan, and her breath is unstable. Obviously, she has just been promoted not long ago, just like Caillou and others. The source power in his body has not been completely transformed, and he was injured by the bald man before, and he looks very embarrassed. His white clothes are stained red with blood, and his chest is eye-catching. During those days in Beiyuzong, he and Lu Shanyan also supported each other and formed a friendship, but now they meet her and are bullied. Yang Kai naturally can't sit idly by. With a thought, Yang Kai jumped down from the third floor. It landed lightly beside Lu Shanyan, and reached out to pull her. As if sensing that someone was attacking him, Lu Shanyan couldn't help but his face changed, and he waved his hand and slapped Yang Kai. "Shanyan, it's me," Yang Kai shouted in a deep voice. Lu Shanyan's palm stopped in midair, and her delicate body trembled. Looking at Yang Kai in amazement, after seeing Yang Kai's face, a light of surprise and joy bloomed in her beautiful eyes, and she said coquettishly, "Senior brother Yang." The two of them joined the Jade Feather sect at the same time, even though they were forced to do so. But they are indeed brothers and sisters. Yang Kai smiled at her and said, "Where do we not meet in life?" "Senior brother Yang, why are you here?" After Lu Shanyan saw Yang Kai, she seemed to have forgotten what she had been bullied just now. Joy is from the heart, there is no fake. When she was in the Jade Feather sect, Yang Kai cared for her in every possible way, and gave her a lot of source crystals earned from refining the spirit pills for others. Unfortunately, since she separated from Yang Kai, she never met her again. Someone who treats her so well. For Lu Shanyan, the best days in the Star Realm were undoubtedly during the period of the Jade Feather sect. "Just passing by, we will talk about the past later, what's wrong with you?" Yang Kai asked. Lu Shanyan's beautiful eyes flickered, and she forced a smile. "It's okay, brother, let's find a place to sit down and talk." Yang Kai said softly, "I've been beaten like this, how can I be fine?" "It's really nothing, it's just a small misunderstanding, brother, don't worry about it." Lu Shanyan insisted. She was obviously afraid that Yang Kai would be affected by her own affairs, so she wanted to calm things down and not want to make things big. She has been hanging out in this Gaocheng for a long time, so she naturally understands the chaos here, and also knows who is behind the treasure building in front of her. No matter how good it is impossible to be promoted too fast. Now, at most, she has the same cultivation base as her. Making trouble here is tantamount to courting death. While speaking, she grabbed Yang Kai's arm and wanted to take him away from the right and wrong place. Yang Kai was unmoved, and stood there persistently, saying, "If you still remember me as a senior brother, tell me what's going on. I don't pay much attention to a treasure house in a mere district." It's not that he was talking nonsense. When drinking tea in the tea house just now, he heard some information. There is only one Emperor Senior Realm in this Gaocheng, and that is the City Lord of Gaocheng, and he is only a first-level Emperor Senior Realm. For such a martial artist, he really doesn't need to be afraid of anything. No matter who is behind this treasure jewel, it will never be more powerful than the city lord. With his current strength, he would definitely be able to compete with Emperor Zun at the first level, let alone Lu Yan and Xiaobai. If Xiaobai fully exerted his strength, he would also be at the first level of Emperor Zun. The city lord of Gaocheng just doesn't want to mess with him. If he really messes with him, he doesn't mind turning the city upside down. Lu Shanyan froze in place for a while, looking at Yang Kai in astonishment, not knowing where Yang Kai got such confidence. Until this moment, she wanted to check Yang Kai's cultivation, but when she scanned Yang Kai's cultivation, she was shocked to find that the aura in Yang Kai's body was blurred. In other words, with her strength, she couldn't check Yang Kai at all depth. Lu Shanyan was completely dumbfounded. When she separated from Yang Kai, their cultivations were about the same, but after a few years of seeing each other, she couldn't even detect Yang Kai's cultivation, which shows how huge the gap between the two is. Don't worry, I won't act recklessly, but I have to give you some relief. Yang Kai smiled slightly. Lu Shanyan pursed her red lips, knowing that she might not be able to hold back Yang Kai. She was moved in her heart, and said in a low voice, I came here to sell one thing, but the price offered by Jubaolo is too low. I don't want to sell it, but they force you to sell it. I have to sell. It's too much to bully others. Yang Kai's expression sank, and he asked, what are you selling? I don't know either. It's a panacea. I got it by accident. Lu Shanyan looked ashamed. She didn't even know what she was selling. She just felt that the price of Jubaolo was too low. That's why she didn't want to sell it, but she didn't want the other party to refuse to return the item at all. After she argued hard, the other party actually shot at her and injured her all at once. What price do they charge? 10,000 low-grade source crystals. Lu Shanyan said softly. Yang Kai nodded and said, follow me. While speaking, he took Lu Shanyan to the Jubao building. When the two stepped into the treasure building, the busy young man in front of the counter immediately greeted him enthusiastically, but when he saw Lu Shanyan following Yang Kai's side, the friendly smile on his face suddenly disappeared, and he looked at him coldly. Lu Shanyan said, why are you here again, you bastard? The boy looks like he is only at the first level of Shu Wang's cultivation, but facing Lu Shanyan, who is at the first level of Daoyuan, he doesn't have the slightest pressure. Lu Shanyan put it in his eyes. After he cursed, he smiled contemptuously at Yang Kai and said, he brought a concubine here, it seems that you have never died before. Snapped. A crisp sound came out, and as soon as the boy's words fell, Yang Kai slapped him. The opponent's cultivation level was far from Yang Kai's, how could he avoid this slap? He didn't even see what was going on, he felt a huge pain in his cheek, and immediately he flew high. In the middle of the air, there was another crackling sound, but it was Yang Kai who slapped him one after another. At first glance, Xiaozi is a bullying guy who looks down on others, who is a bitch and keeps his mouth shut. How can Yang Kai give him a good face? With more than a dozen slaps, even though Yang Kai didn't use much strength, he still slapped the opponent dizzy, and when he landed on the ground, he spit out a mouthful of blood, and all his teeth were wiped out. As soon as Yang Kai made a move here, the warriors walking on the street in front of the treasure judging building saw it, and all of them suddenly widened their eyes and looked inward in astonishment, thinking which 205 it was. How dare they go in the treasure building? If he beats someone with his hands, he might not be able to see the sun tomorrow. It is human nature to watch the excitement, so there are many warriors in front of the treasure building, all looking inward, wanting to see how Yang Kai and the others will die. Lu Shanyan was also dumbfounded. Even though Yang Kai told her just now that he didn't pay attention to the treasure judging building, she also knew that Yang Kai's strength was absolutely impressive, but she never thought that Yang Kai would hit someone as soon as he came in. If he knew this earlier, Lu Shanyan would never let Yang Kai in. This time the matter became serious, even though Yang Kai was only hitting a young man who was not on the stage, but the other party was the face of treasure building. After all, he was slapped more than a dozen times in the public. It was tantamount to slapping the face of treasure building. How can Jubaolo let it go? For a moment, Lu Shanyan was as anxious as an ant on a hot pot, feeling that he had caused Yang Kai, and felt guilty and uneasy, and only wanted to take Yang Kai away from this place, the farther the better. As if sensing her anxiety and uneasiness, Yang Kai reached out and squeezed her palm, smiled at her, and said, "Don't be afraid, senior brother can handle it." Lu Shanyan stared blankly at his bright and confident smile. Inexplicably, her mood suddenly calmed down. To be continued. R1292. Chapter 2353. What's so strange about abolishing your cultivation? Chapter 2353 What's so strange about abolishing your cultivation? Who dares to make trouble in my Jubao building? A roar came from the back hall, and immediately after that, the bald man who had injured Lu Shanyan before rushed out. His tower-like body was extremely oppressive, and his body, the breath that emanates, is also extremely ferocious. Seeing the big man come out, the dazed boy who had been beaten jumped towards him as if he had found his backbone, and with his hands on his cheeks, he yelled vaguely, "Master Deacon, you have to replace the little one. Make the decision." This person came in and shot the little one indiscriminately. The little one was weak and powerless to resist, and all his teeth were knocked out by him. "Look at you, the little one is so miserable." He kept crying, and with the blood flowing from the corner of his mouth, he looked really bleak, and if people who don't know the inside story know, they will definitely sympathize with him. It's just that Yang Kai didn't use much strength at all. His injury looked miserable, but it was not serious at all, otherwise he wouldn't be so alive. Dare to act wild in my treasure house, boy, you don't want to live anymore. The bald man stared at Yang Kai with a pair of cheetah-like eyes, and shouted viciously. When he turned his eyes, he saw Lu Shanyan standing beside Yang Kai, seemed to understand something, and said with a sinister smile, "I told you what's going on, so I found a helper to come over." While speaking, he looked at Yang Kai teasingly, and said, "Boy, I don't know what benefits this woman has given you, and let you stand in her place, but you are making a big mistake if you dare to come here." With a sudden wave of his hand, the gate of the treasure judging building was suddenly closed, and then 4 Dao Origin Realm martial artists rushed out from all directions, crowding Yang Kai and Lu Shanyan. This accident happened so abruptly, Lu Shanyan's face changed color in an instant, and he couldn't help leaning towards Yang Kai, as if he wanted to seek some sense of security. A peaceful breath lingered at the tip of his nose. Lu Shanyan looked up looking at Yang Kai. He saw that his expression was indifferent, as if the situation in front of him was nothing to him at all. Infected by him, Lu Shanyan suddenly calmed down. Many people bully few people. Yang Kai had a playful smile on his face. He turned his head and looked around. His divine sense swept over him, and found out that the 4 sources of Dao were all at the first level, and the bald man was no better than Taoist. Source 2-layer environment. I don't know where they got the guts to close the door. It seems that they want to deceive people and keep Yang Kai and Lu Shanyan here completely. Hearing Yang Kai's teasing, the bald man just snorted coldly, looked at Lu Shanyan coldly, and said in a serious voice, "I didn't intend to do anything to you, but you are so ignorant and return on your own initiative, so don't blame me. This seat is ruthless, there is no person warming the bed on this seat, and your appearance is not bad, just roll over and kneel in front of this seat obediently, you will save yourself some physical pain." Lu Shanyan trembled with anger, gritted his teeth and shouted, "You're dreaming." This shameless person not only hacked her elixir and injured her, but now he coveted her beauty and asked her to propose sex. How could Lu Shanyan bear it? Thinking that she was at least a hegemony figure in the great wilderness starfield, and although she was a little soft-spoken in the starfield, she would not be so ignorant of self-love. Toast, don't eat fine wine. The bald man was obviously impatient. After seeing Lu Shanyan rejecting him, he waved his hand and said, "The man is killed, and the woman stays, and he doesn't open his eyes to see what this is. How dare you come here to make a mistake in this place, you simply don't know what it means." The 4 sources of Dao that gathered around Yang Kai and Lu Shanyan made their moves together, each using secret techniques, blasting towards Yang Kai, full of murderous intent, obviously did not intend to hold back, and prepared to kill Yang directly according to the bald man's order. Let's talk. The backstage of Jubao building is huge, so what's the point of killing a lot of people? It's just that this kid has no eyes and no pearls, so he dared to come here to make trouble. But the 4 soon realized something was wrong. The moment they just made a move, the space of the entire Jubao building suddenly became heavy, and an indescribable force filled everyone's surroundings, making them feel as if they had fallen into the quagmire, struggling to move forward. The 4 of them are all in Daoyuan realm. Although their strength is not too strong, since they have been promoted to this realm, they have somewhat comprehended the power of law. They immediately knew that the power that affected their actions and made them feel as if they were being suppressed by the mountain, unable to breathe, and even the power of the source power was not functioning smoothly was obviously the power of an extremely profound law. The faces of the 4 of them changed drastically, and they tried their best to urge their own strength to attack the surroundings. They wanted to get out of trouble, but they had little effect. Yang Kai let out a sneer, and the golden blood shot out, and in an instant, the golden light flickered, strangling the 4 of them. Chi 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 chi. After a strange sound, the golden light disappeared, and at the same time, the power of the law that filled the treasure building also disappeared. But the 4 Tao origin stages who shot at Yang Kai stood there in a daze, motionless, as if they had been given a body-holding technique. Their eyes were full of horror and disbelief. In a few moments, one person's body suddenly collapsed, as if the whole person had been cut into countless pieces, scattered on the ground, with blood and broken internal organs dripping all over the floor. Clatter. The other 3 were also shattered, and in an instant, a disgusting smell of blood rose into the sky. Ah! The bald man obviously didn't expect Yang Kai's attack to be so vicious. He thought Lu Shanyan was only at the first level of Daoyuan, and the helpers he found might not be able to do anything, so he didn't do it himself. I thought about it, but now that I saw it, I knew I was wrong. Those are 4 Daoyuan first-level realms, and it is extremely difficult to cultivate the treasure building, but they were completely killed by the opponent after a single encounter. How can he compete with such strength? The little servant was even more unbearable. He was standing next to the bald man, pretending to be a tiger, and stared wide-eyed to see the scene of Yang Kai being killed, so as to relieve his anger, but when he saw the result was completely different from what he thought, his eyes twitched. Turn over, and pass out directly. You, how dare you kill people in the Jubao building? The bald man's face was pale. After realizing that he was definitely not Yang Kai's opponent, his blood was cold, and he was no longer arrogant and domineering. Joke. People want to kill me, of course I want to kill them. Yang Kai sneered, staring sharply at the bald man, and said coldly, now it's your turn. As soon as the bald man heard this, he knew that the situation was not good. He suddenly made a tactic, and his whole body was covered with a layer of bright red blood. The secret art of blood, his figure flew backwards like an arrow from the string, trying to escape from this place, and at the same time shouted, the shopkeeper save me. Heavenly King Lao Su is here, and I can't save you. Yang Kai snorted coldly, obviously standing there without moving, but in the blink of an eye, he had already arrived in front of the bald man, and the whole person was close to him. His eyes were cold and fierce. The dead souls of the bald man are all dying. His Daoyuan 2-layer cultivation base did not see clearly that Yang Kai threw himself in front of him. The more he realized the gap between himself and Yang Kai, his face could not help but a dead gray color. Secretly hated I didn't check out Yang Kai's specific cultivation and acted like that, and now I completely angered the other party. I am afraid that I will die. Stop. A stern voice suddenly came from behind, and then, a breath of Dao origin stage peak rushed towards Yang Kai and suppressed it. The next moment, an old man with white hair and beard came into Yang Kai's eyes. He seemed to be rushing from the back hall, and he should have heard the bald man calling for help. Before the person arrived, the old man had already shot Yang Kai and grabbed him, with the intention of besieging Wei and saving Zhao. The bald man looked overjoyed, and shouted even harder, help, big shopkeeper. He thought that he would be safe and sound if the big shopkeeper came out in person. The big shopkeeper was at the peak of Daoyuan realm. Although the young man who came to make trouble was very powerful, he was definitely not in the emperor state. He could still feel this. With the strength of the shopkeeper, he will definitely be able to save himself. Yang Kai glanced at the old man contemptuously, and just casually slapped it in the air. A solid palm print flew over, meeting the old man's palm. At the same time, he stretched out his other hand and placed it gently on the chest of the bald man. The face of the bald man suddenly changed, and his joyful mood suddenly turned cold, and he said in horror, "What are you going to do?" As soon as he finished speaking, he felt a violent source force rushing into his body, as if a sharp knife cut his meridians and wantonly destroyed his dantian. The heart-piercing pain made him unbearable at all, and he opened his mouth to scream. Boom! With a sound, Yang Kai's handprint and the old man's palm collided until now, and Yang Kai took advantage of his strength to retreat lightly and landed beside Lu Shanyan with a calm expression. On the contrary, it was the old man. After feeling Yang Kai's strength, his complexion couldn't help changing, and the posture of his hands changed several times before he was able to resolve the force, and after falling to the ground, he kicked back a few steps. With a bang, the bald man landed right at his feet. Cough cough. The bald man coughed a few times with difficulty, spit out a mouthful of blood, then his face was ashen, and he looked at Yang Kai with incomparable resentment. How dare you abolish my cultivation? At this moment, his meridians were completely destroyed, his dantian was shattered, and all his cultivation bases had been dissipated. Although such an injury is not without cure, one must find some extremely precious panacea. Don't say that this thing can't be found at all. even if he found it, he wouldn't be able to buy it. You dare to injure my junior sister, what's so strange about abolishing your cultivation? Yang Kai looked at him like an idiot. Why don't you kill me? The bald man roared. Yang Kai sneered. Wouldn't it be too cheap to kill you? The bald man's face became even paler. He knew that Yang Kai was right, killing him was a kind of relief for him, and abolishing his cultivation base was the cruelest punishment for any martial artist. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. Chapter 2354 Compensation. My honorable master is so ruthless, I don't know what I have offended you in treasure building. The head shopkeeper of treasure building had dark eyes. Fearing Yang Kai's cruelty in his heart, he gritted his teeth and drank in a low voice. This young man killed him in the 4 Dao source realms of Jubao building, and abolished the cultivation base of the bald man. His actions were decisive and cruel. Today's matter can't be good no matter what. However, although Yang Kai is powerful, he is not very afraid. The so-called strong dragon does not overwhelm the local snake. On the 1-acre 3-point land in Gaocheng, anyone should give him a little face in Jubaolo. You didn't offend me, but you offended my junior sister. Yang Kai looked at the shopkeeper coldly, raised the corner of his mouth, and continued. Don't say you don't know anything about this matter, hand it over, or you will end up like him. Yang Kai pointed at the bald man while speaking. The big shopkeeper's face changed. He originally wanted to deal with Yang Kai for a while, so as to delay the arrival of reinforcements. As long as the reinforcements arrived, Yang Kai would be able to return 100 times what he had done in the treasure building, but he did not expect that Yang Kai would simply if you don't give him this chance, you won't give yourself time to breathe if you listen to what he said. Your Majesty, do you know where my Jubao building is, and who is behind it, so you dare to yell like this here? The shopkeeper has lived for so many years at least, and he has the cultivation base of the peak Daoyuan realm. Naturally, it is impossible to be intimidated by Yang Kai's few words. It seems that you have made a choice. If this is the case, don't blame this young master for being cruel. Yang Kai snorted coldly, too lazy to talk nonsense with him. At this point, Yang Kai's figure flickered, and he directly approached the old man. Under the mobilization of the law of space, the radius of more than 10 feet was solid for a moment, and the space condensed. The shopkeeper was all dead, his forehead was covered with cold sweat. With his strength and eyesight, he didn't see how Yang Kai threw himself in front of him. He realized in his heart that he had really kicked the iron plate, and then feeling the condensed space around him, with a horrified face, he tried his best to push the source force back and shouted, Jubaolo is the property under the name of the city lord. If you dare to be presumptuous here, don't even think about leaving Gaocheng alive. At this time, he didn't have the time to play tricks, and he directly reported his backstage, hoping that Yang Kai would be able to cast a trap. After all, the city lord is the most powerful in Gaocheng, and he is the only emperor senior realm powerhouse. But to his surprise, Yang Kai was unmoved by this. The old man saw the slightest emotional fluctuation in his eyes, as if he had expected this. This kid is crazy. The old man was terrified, knowing that his backer was the city lord. He dared to act so recklessly. Doesn't it mean that he is not afraid of the city lord at all? It's ridiculous that I still hope to use the city lord to overwhelm him, but I don't want to end up with the opposite effect. The surrounding space is constrained. Even as strong as an old man, he can't move freely. He only feels that the meridians all over his body are blocked and the source power is not flowing smoothly. Yang Kai cut it off. The golden scissors were not low-grade, exuding the energy fluctuations of Daoyuan level top-grade secret treasures, and they didn't know what kind of magical power they possessed. As soon as you threw them out, they cut a crack in the solidified space. The pressure on the old man's whole body was relaxed, and the source force in the meridians finally flowed smoothly. But before he could take any further action, a ray of golden light leisurely bloomed in front of his eyes. He subconsciously raised his head and looked towards Yang Kai, only to see that Yang Kai's left eye was shining with golden light, and the pupil of that left eye also turned into a majestic vertical bezel. A kind of frightening power fluctuated from it. Facing this one, the old man with eyes panicked for no reason, feeling restless. The next moment, a lotus flower bud that was about to bloom suddenly shot out from the golden kernel, and it disappeared in a flash. The old man suddenly stood still on the spot. His whole body felt as if he had been swallowed by lightning, and there was nothing else in his field of vision, as if there was only that lotus bud left between heaven and earth, and under his gaze, the white lotus bud quickly disappeared. Bloom. And as the lotus flower bloomed, his spiritual power disappeared rapidly, and pain like 10,000 ants devoured came from his mind. No, this is a mystical soul technique. The old man suddenly woke up, but he was powerless to resolve it. The young man's spiritual power seemed to be much higher than his own. This inexplicable lotus secret technique devoured his spiritual power in a very short time, making him he was paralyzed and looked terrified. A burst of severe pain came, and the old man was stimulated by the pain, and suddenly woke up. When he fixed his eyes, he saw that his arm had been cut off directly, and blood was sprayed out from the wound and scattered on the ground. The young man looked stern, stretched out a palm lightly, and imprinted it on his chest. Recalling the scene of the bald man he saw in the dark before, combined with what Yang Kai said before, how could he not know what Yang Kai's action meant? He really wants to abolish his cultivation. The old man shook like he was sifting chaff, and shouted with all his strength, "No, if you have something to say, please say it, and I can agree to any request." Bump. Yang Kai's palm still pressed down, the old man's chest seemed to be sunken an inch, spewing blood, he flew back to the counter in embarrassment, landed heavily, under the palm, the old man was directly crushed by Yang Kai just like the bald man. The dantian is destroyed, the meridians are shattered, and the cultivation base is completely lost. I didn't know how to cherish it when I was talking to you, and you don't need to say it now. Yang Kai didn't even look at the old man, just reached out and grabbed the space ring on the broken arm, and threw it to Lu Xian. "Yundao, see if your things are in here." Lu Xianyan took it subconsciously, but obviously still hadn't recovered. She looked at Yang Kai with a dazed and shocked expression, and couldn't figure out how Yang Kai had become so powerful after only a few years of absence. Those 4 Daoyuan first-level realms were killed by him in an instant, but the bald man and the shopkeeper are not ordinary Daoyuan realms, but these two people are still as ridiculous as children in front of Yang Kai. There was no strength to fight back at all, and his cultivation base was abolished almost after a face-to-face encounter. Recalling that the two were forced to join the Jade Feather sect and survived under Bian Yuqing's wing, Lu Xianyan couldn't believe that they were the same person. "Brother, have you been promoted to emperor?" Lu Xianyan asked stupidly. "It's still early." Yang Kai smiled lightly. Lu Xianyan was even more shocked. He was so cruel without being promoted to Emperor Senior. What if Yang Kai was promoted to Emperor Senior? She is also an overlord in the great wilderness starfield, and a genius who is rare in 1,000 years, but now compared with Yang Kai, she finds that her cultivation aptitude is so sluggish. "Is the thing there?" Yang Kai asked again. Only then did Lu Xianyan start to investigate in a hurry. After a while, she took out a jade box from the space ring, smiled and said, "It's still there." This jade box is exactly the box she used to hold the elixir. On top of the jade box is a restriction that she personally placed. This restriction has not yet been lifted. It seems that the treasurer of Jubao building has not had time after getting the jade box. Open. Leave the ring as well, it will be considered as compensation from the shopkeeper. Yang Kai smiled slightly, and said sarcastically, "The shopkeeper is not a stingy person." Hearing this, the big shopkeeper who was lying on the side of the counter, breathless, almost recited it without slowing down. There are a lot of good things in his ring, some genius treasures bought by Jubaolo, and even some treasures that are going to be sold, and some things that are not convenient to display on the surface, are all in his ring. It would not be an exaggeration to say that his space ring is priceless. Now that Yang Kai is about to snatch his ring with a single word, the big shopkeeper feels his heart is bleeding, but the situation is stronger than others, even if he wants to resist, he doesn't have the strength. This, isn't it good? Lu Xianyan had never done such a thing before, and she couldn't accept it for a while, only feeling that her morality and bottom line had been challenged. "It's nothing bad." Yang Kai snorted coldly, "I don't know how much of the things inside are taken by force. If they are allowed to rob others, can't they be robbed? Then, all right." Lu Xianyan happily put away the space ring, without any psychological pressure. Thinking about it, if I hadn't met Yang Kai by chance this time, I would have been robbed. It's fine if I was robbed, and I was injured by others. The group of people in Jubaolo have been bullying the weak in Gaocheng all year round, and they must have done bad things. There is really no need for any pressure to rob this kind of person, just treat it as doing justice for the sky. Boy, you have the guts, but you are destined not to survive tomorrow, and the Lord City Lord will not let you go. The big shopkeeper is now completely crippled, so there is nothing to be afraid of at all. Looking at Yang Kai with resentment, while speaking, he spat out a mouthful of blood and said with a grin, "The old man will eat your meat in one bite." Hearing this, Lu Shanyan's complexion changed drastically, and he said in a trembling voice, "Brother, let's go quickly, or it will be too late. The city lord of Gaocheng is an emperor, so we must not mess with it." Yang Kai glanced at the old man contemptuously, and said, "It's fine if Peng Guang doesn't come to provoke me. If he dares to come, I don't mind giving him a ride." The old man was stunned for a moment. Peng Guang is the city lord of Gao City and the only emperor senior realm. He thought that Yang Kai would be afraid of Peng Guang, but hearing the tone of his words, he didn't take the city lord seriously at all. What is the background of this kid? How dare you speak so boldly? Somehow, the old man felt that no one would be able to avenge his great hatred. In other words, he was humiliated in vain and his cultivation base was abolished. In a fit of anger, the old man spat out another mouthful of blood, his breath getting weaker and weaker. "Let's go." Yang Kai turned around, smiled at Lu Shanyan, and walked out first. After opening the gate, he found that both sides of the street and even the roof opposite were full of warriors, all of them were facing the Jubao Tower. Look in the direction where you are. To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn update group at Woixiaowati. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2355 Shensho Budianlian. When Yang Kai brought Lu Shanyan into the treasure building, he was seen by many people. These warriors had nothing to do, so they naturally wanted to watch the fun, and then the gate of the treasure building was closed by the bald man, which made people see I don't see what's going on inside. Although it can't be seen, the violent energy fluctuations and ping-pong-pong movements coming out of it are not fake. In this short period of time, thousands of martial artists gathered around to watch the excitement. At this time, Yang Kai opened the door and walked out, and was immediately watched by thousands of pairs of eyes. Everyone couldn't believe their eyes. They all felt that Yang Kai was a little ignorant, and dared to provoke Treasure Julo in Gao City. What is it? Not to mention that the backstage of Jubaolo is the city lord, but the strength of the warriors in Jubaolo itself is extremely good, and the big shopkeeper has the cultivation base of the peak Daoyuan. Have the qualifications to attack Emperor Zun. And Yang Kai is young, even if he has some strength, he will definitely not be too strong. They thought that Yang Kai was doomed to suffer a big loss this time. But the fact surprised everyone. Yang Kai Shishi ran out of the treasure building. Not only was he unscathed, his clothes were wrinkle-free, but inside the treasure building, several corpses were lying here and there, with blood all over the ground. The bald man and the big man from the treasure building, the shopkeeper's face was even paler, and his breath was sluggish. It looked like someone had abolished his cultivation. There was a sound of gasping for air, and the eyes of many warriors looking at Yang Kai finally changed color, realizing that this young man is probably not something to provoke, and it is very likely that he is also an emperor senior stage. After all, how long has he been in there? Dozens of breaths of effort before and after, relying on one's own strength to toss the treasure tower into such a way. If it is not the emperor senior realm, how can such means be used? When Yang Kai walked out, the warriors who had gathered closer couldn't help but retreat, their eyes full of fear. Yang Kai glanced around coldly, snorted coldly, and ignored these people. He just took Lu Shanyan into the opposite tea house, went up to the tea table on the third floor, and asked someone to change a pot spirit tea is served. He made a big fuss in the Jubao building, wounded and killed the people in the Jubao building. Instead of leaving and fleeing, he even went into the opposite tea house to drink tea. This scene made those who watched the scene feel unbelievable. Everyone secretly admired Yang Kai's boldness, and felt that if he was not powerful and not afraid of Peng Guang, he was the kind who could make Peng Guang fearful of him. However, they are not related to Yang Kai, so naturally they don't bother to care about these things. Instead, it is the treasure gathering building with the store open, which makes these martial artists have a strong interest. The warriors who hang out in Gaocheng are basically people who regard human life as worthless and have a tough style. They don't care about who is right and who is wrong in this matter. It's just that the spiritual herbs and wonderful medicines displayed in the treasure building are amazing. The rare treasures are unguarded, so this is a good opportunity to strike. Although Jubao building is an industry under Peng Guang's name, people die for money and birds for food. At this time, there are always some people who are itchy. After a moment of silence, a figure suddenly rushed out from the crowd, rushed directly into the treasure judging building, and then swept the spiritual grass and wonderful medicine placed on the medicine cabinet into his own space ring. When the others saw it, they were still restrained, and followed suit one after another. For a while, there were as many fighters rushing into the Jubao building to take the opportunity to rob as crucian carp crossing the river. After a while, the entire Jubao building was swept away, which is a little worthwhile. All the things disappeared, and the things disappeared, and those warriors quickly scattered and disappeared. On the tea house, Yang Kai saw this scene in his eyes, with a face of indifference, but he had a little understanding of the style of these warriors in Gaocheng. Senior brother, Lu Shanyan felt uncomfortable, and said timidly, let's go. It's not that she has no confidence in Yang Kai's strength, it's just that she caused such a big mess after all, and the cause of the incident is still her. She doesn't want to provoke stronger enemies for Yang Kai. No need. Yang Kai smiled slightly, poured her a cup of spirit tea, and said, this place is so chaotic, why did you come here? He was still very curious about what happened to Lu Shanyan in the past few years. After escaping from the Jade Feather sect, he gave half of his belongings to Lu Shanyan, and the two ran away separately. Later, Yang Kai went to after leaving Fenggalan City, I have been working hard until now, but I didn't expect to meet her when I passed by Gaocheng this time. I've been here for several years. Lu Shanyan smiled wryly, briefly recounting his past few years. In fact, there is nothing to talk about. After parting with Yang Kai, she wandered around the southern territory like a headless chicken, and she didn't settle down until she came to Gaocheng, because although Gaocheng was in chaos, there were many places nearby that were suitable for her to practice. She can find some cultivation resources in those places. After a few years, although life is difficult, she can be considered to be promoted to the level of Daoyuan. A few days ago, she accidentally got an elixir in a nearby place called Jixu Ridge, so she wanted to bring it back to sell some source crystals and then buy some source crystals. That's right, but I don't want the people in Jubao to see her take out that elixir, and only give her the price of 10,000 low-grade source crystals. Although Lu Shanyan didn't know what the elixir was and what its effects were, but he instinctively felt that the elixir was definitely more than a few source crystals, so how could he sell it? After some theories, the other party actually attacked her directly, and Yang Kai also knew what happened later. Senior brother, I will give you this elixir, I don't know what it is. Lu Shanyan said, and handed the jade box to Yang Kai. Let me take a look. Yang Kai reached out to take it, lifted the restriction on the jade box, and opened a gap in the jade box. In an instant, a scent of fragrance escaped from the jade box, and this fragrance entered his nostrils. Yang Kai couldn't help but feel refreshed, and his entire sea of consciousness became much clearer. With a bang, Yang Kai hurriedly closed the jade box with an unbelievable expression on his face. Wen Shenlian, although the jade box was only opened by him with a gap, his spiritual sense could clearly see the elixir contained in it. The thing was actually exactly the same as his own Wenshan lotus, but it didn't have the 7 colors, but it was pure white. The aura that diffused out was somewhat similar to that of Wen Shenlian, as if it had been shrunk down by more than 10 times. No, this is not the Wenshan lotus. It is rumored that the Wenshan lotus is the most precious treasure in the world, just like the tree that never grows old. There is only one plant in the world, and there is no second one. Shenshou Butianlian. Yang Kai suddenly remembered the information recorded in the jade slip left by Gongsun Mu, the third disciple of Emperor Miaodan, and immediately recognized what this elixir was. This is obviously the legendary Shenshou Butianlian. Although the Shenshou Butianlian is not as precious and unique as the Wenshanlian, it is also a legendary item. Like the Shungshan fruit, it is an extinct treasure. Using Shenshou Butian lotus as the main material, the refined Shenshou Butian pill does not have the effect of bringing the dead back to life, but it can repair the broken meridians and dantian of a warrior. It is definitely a product of good fortune. Just like the bald-headed man and the shopkeeper of Jubao building, although Yang Kai abolished his cultivation base, if he can take a heaven-mending pill, the damaged meridian and dantian will be intact in less than 3 months. But this thing only exists in legends, and no one has seen it before. The people in Jubao building actually wanted to use 10,000 low-grade source crystals to forcefully buy Shenshou Butianlian, and they didn't know what kind of nerves it was. A mere 10,000 low-grade source crystals is not enough to sniff the breath of Shenshou Butianlian. The people in Jubao building may not have recognized Shenshou Butianlian, but they definitely knew that this thing was of extraordinary value, and they might not be able to afford it if they really bid, so they bought and sold it forcefully. The effect of Shenshou Butian pill is not only to repair meridians and dantian, it also has other miraculous effects. In a word, the value of Shenshou Butian pill is inestimable. Yang Kai didn't expect Lu Shanyan to have such a chance to get such a divine object. Junior sister, do you remember where you got this elixir from? Yang Kai asked in a deep voice. The depths of Jixu Ridge. Lu Shanyan still had a trace of fear in retrospect. I was chased by a monster, and I fled into it in a panic. Otherwise, I would not have gone there. I heard that the deepest place in Jixu Ridge, even if you go to Emperor Senior Realm, you can't return safely, so it's all luck that I can come back this time. If I told you to go again, might you find the right way? Go again. Lu Shanyan's pretty face turned pale, and she asked doubtfully, why are you going there? It was definitely luck that she was able to return safely last time. If she went in again, Lu Shanyan would not be sure that she would be able to come out alive, so she didn't know why Yang Kai would risk his life. Because, Yang Kai was about to explain, but before he finished speaking, he suddenly frowned and looked downstairs. As far as I could see, in front of the door of the Jubao building, a middle-aged man wearing a luxurious robe stood there with a gloomy face. Seeing Yang Kai's gaze, he also looked up instantly, his gaze as sharp as a falcon. It's Pang Guang. Lu Shanyan also saw the middle-aged man, and immediately called out coquettishly, feeling anxious. Having been in Gaocheng for several years, she naturally knows what Pang Guang looks like. Seeing that he came here in person, she immediately knew that there was serious trouble. She didn't know why Yang Kai was confident enough to stay, but an Emperor Senior stage was obviously not so easy to provoke. Over there, Pang Guang suddenly moved and disappeared in place. When he reappeared, he had already reached the third floor of the tea house, standing in front of Yang Kai and Lu Shanyan. Lu Shanyan screamed in fright, and his face turned pale for a moment. To be continued. This text is provided by the Breaking Dawn update group at Xian Shu Gongzi. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 2356 Hidden Dragon Crouching Tiger. It was the two of you who made trouble in the treasure building just now. Pang Guang went straight to the point as soon as he came up, and asked Yang Kai and Lu Shanyan in a cold voice. Obviously he knew the appearance of the troublemaker through some channels. Lu Shanyan's pretty face turned pale, and she dared not answer. She only has the cultivation base of the first level of Daoyuan, and she has only been promoted for a short time, and her level has not stabilized. Facing an Emperor Senior level is naturally stressful. Yang Kai was calm and unmoved, just glanced at Pang Guang indifferently. Compared with Chu Zi, Pang Guang's aura is undoubtedly stronger and stronger. He is obviously stronger than Chu Zi, but this kind of strength is extremely limited. With Yang Kai's current strength and means, there is no need to be afraid of him. Neither of the two answered, and Pang Guang suddenly said angrily, I am asking a question, how dare you not answer? The Emperor's prestige exploded, filling the entire tea house. The faces of the martial artists who were still drinking tea in the tea house changed drastically, and their expressions were hard. The murderous intent that was as strong as the substance penetrated into the flesh and bones, making them cold all over, and cursed Yang secretly. Kai didn't know the heights of the heavens and the depths of the earth, but he was so presumptuous in front of the city lord, and in the end they were also implicated. With a light wave of Yang Kai's hand, it was as if a sharp sword had been drawn across the hazy sky, and the power of the emperor that enveloped him and Lu Shanyan disappeared in an instant, as if the clouds and mists were cleared to see the sunny sky. Pang Guang was taken aback, and then re-examined Yang Kai. He clearly noticed that Yang Kai only had Daoyuan third layer cultivation base, but that wave of his hand could dispel his own emperor way. What is going on? Although it was just a single movement, Pang Guang no longer dared to underestimate Yang Kai, realizing that the other party had made a big fuss in the treasure building and still dared to sit here, probably because of some support. Did this guy come from some top sect? If not, how could there be such a background? I heard that the elite disciples of those top sects have the strength to fight across the ranks. If this young man really comes from some great sect, then today's matter is really difficult. For a while, Pang Guang suddenly became worried about gains and losses. As the lord of a party, his property was turned upside down. Where to save face? But if the other party is not young, he may not be able to provoke him. Don't look at Pang Guang as a local emperor in Gaocheng, but in the eyes of those top sects, he is really nothing. They can send any elder to come. Kill him dozens or hundreds of times. Just when he was thinking about how to solve today's matter, so as not to offend others and save his face, he suddenly noticed something strange around him. He was startled, and turned his head to look, only to see a half-grown old man appearing beside him at some point. This old man has gray hair, hale and hearty, wearing a gray linen clothes, looks inconspicuous. When did this old thing come? Pang Guang was very surprised. Just now he was only thinking about Yang Kai, but he didn't notice when the old man walked over, and the old man's face looked very strange. He had obviously never seen this person before. The old man suddenly appeared, and Yang Kai was also taken aback. Pang Guang was distracted just now and didn't pay much attention to the old man's appearance, but Yang Kai saw it clearly. There was no sign before the half-old man appeared. It seemed that he appeared in the blink of an eye. Yang Kaixin focused, and quietly released his spiritual thoughts to check the old man's cultivation, but to his horror, his spiritual thoughts penetrated into the old man's body like a stone sinking into the sea, and he disappeared without a trace. This person is actually a more powerful Emperor Senior Realm than Pang Guang, at least a second-level Emperor Senior Realm, and most likely a third-level Emperor Senior Realm. There is such a strong man in Gaocheng. His heart was shaken, and he glanced at Pang Guang calmly on the surface. If the two of them were together, then this time things would be troublesome. He originally thought that there was only one Pang Guang in Gaocheng, so he was not afraid at all, but now that a more powerful old guy has been killed, Yang Kai is already thinking about how to escape safely. But looking at it, it made Yang Kai feel at ease, because Pang Guang is also suspicious at the moment. Obviously he doesn't know this half-old man. As the city lord of one party, he didn't even know that the land under his jurisdiction was hidden by dragons and crouching tigers. I have to say that Pang Guang, the city lord, failed quite well. And the half-aged old man's eyes were burning at the moment, as if he had found something of great interest. He smiled slightly at Yang Kai and said, "Old man Yao Chengjun is the owner of the tea house here. What is the name of the little brother?" He had a kind expression on his face, like an approachable senior, but Yang Kai instinctively felt a hint of danger. Before Yang Kai had time to speak, Pang Guang suddenly snorted coldly and said, "The city lord has something to talk to this young man, and those who have nothing to do with him will leave first." He had a domineering look, as if he didn't pay attention to Yao Chengjun at all. As soon as the words came out, Yang Kai's expression immediately became strange. But soon, he suddenly understood. It is guessed that Pang Guang does not know the depth of Yao Chengjun, otherwise he would never dare to speak like this. In addition, he wanted to shake his prestige in front of Yang Kai but failed, and Yao Chengjun didn't even look at him after he showed up, probably a little annoyed. Yang Kai just doesn't put him in his eyes. The owner of a mere tea house, under his jurisdiction, dare not to put him in his eyes. As the lord of a city, how could Pang Guang bear it? Let the old man back down. Yao Chengjun chuckled, looked at Pang Guang with great interest, and said in a serious voice, "Are you sure?" Only then did Pang Guang realize that something was wrong, and quickly released his divine sense to check Yao Chengjun's cultivation, but it was too late. His divine sense had not touched Yao Chengjun, and the latter had already slapped Pang Guang lightly with a cold mouth. Humph said, "A mere Emperor Senior Level 1 dares to be presumptuous in front of this old man. Get out of here." In that palm, the source power fluctuates, like a vortex of stars, containing huge power. With one palm, the sky and the earth trembled. Pang Guang's complexion changed drastically. He didn't know that he was blind and provoked someone who shouldn't be provoked. He hurriedly drifted back in shock, and said in horror, "Senior, forgive me." But no matter how he dodged and defended, the palm still firmly imprinted on his chest. With a sound, Pang Guang flew upside down like a rag sack, crashing dozens of buildings along the road. He fell to the ground in embarrassment, and a mouthful of blood spurted out. On the third floor of Yuting Tea House, the noisy warriors were as peaceful as death. All the martial artists who saw this scene almost stared out of their eyes. The city lord of Gaocheng, Pang Daguang, who was at the first level of Emperor Senior, was sent flying by the palm of a half-old man. And this half-grown old man is actually the owner of Yuting Tea House. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have dared to believe it anyway. It turns out that in Gaocheng, the real strong man is not the lord of the city on the surface, but the landlord hiding in the tea house. If you can slap Pang Guang flying with one palm, how high should the owner of this tea house be? Emperor Zun's second-tier realm, or third-tier realm? Everyone was so shocked that some of them thought about how they used to go crazy in this Yuting tea house and deliberately made things difficult for those guys. They are like falling into an ice cellar. Only then did they know that Yuting tea house is definitely not a place where they can run wild. With the owner's cultivation base, if he really wanted to take their lives, Pang Guang would not dare to say a word. The reason why they ignored them was obviously because don't want to bother. I will definitely not make trouble here in the future. Every warrior secretly swears in his heart. Now we can talk. After Yao Changjun slapped Pang Guang away, he sat down opposite Yang Kai with a slight smile, with a calm expression on his face, as if what happened just now was just a fly to him. Lu Shanyan was completely dumbfounded, his face was bloodless, and his teeth were trembling violently. He thought he had just offended Pang Guang, but he didn't want to jump out even worse now. What does the old man want to talk to me about? Yang Kai frowned and asked in a deep voice. Judging from the scene of Yao Changjun's shot just now, this guy is obviously not as gentle as he looks on the surface, but a moody old monster. How dare Yang Kai treat this kind of person lightly? While speaking, Yang Kai quietly put the jade box in his hand into his arms. But his actions obviously failed to hide from Yao Changjun. The owner of Yuting Tea House just stretched out his hand, and the box in Yang Kai's hand flew into his palm. Yang Kai's face suddenly sank, knowing that Yao Changjun should have sensed the aura of Shensho Budianlian, so he suddenly appeared. This kind of treasure with good fortune is of great use to any warrior. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to directly grab his own things like this. Knowing this, Yang Kai would never open the jade box's restriction here. But who would have thought that there was an old monster hidden in this tea house? Yang Kai sighed inwardly, and could only secretly hope that Yao Changjun would not know the mystery of Shensho Budianlian. Talk about this. Yao Changjun smiled, with the look of a kid not playing tricks in front of me. While speaking, he gently opened a gap in the jade box, and his expression suddenly became extremely solemn, as if he had found a treasure, like a jade box. The contents of the box are extremely important to him. A faint fragrance wafted out from the jade box, and Yao Changjun's eyes were frighteningly radiant, and he said happily, "Sure enough, this is the thing. I have waited here for 200 years, and my hard work was finally not in vain. Ha 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 ha." Yang Kai's face stretched instantly. Listening to Yao Changjun's words, he didn't know that the other party recognized Shensho Budianlian, and this old guy kept his name here and opened a tea house just for this treasure, and he even waited here for 200 for many years. Boy, tell me, where did you get this thing? After confirming that the jade box contained the Shensho Budianlian, Yao Changjun became anxious all of a sudden, and he no longer had the warm intentions just now. The tone was gloomy, which meant that Yang Kai dared to answer truthfully and wanted him to look good. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 2357 Sneak Attack. Senior, I got this by accident, and it has nothing to do with my senior brother. Lu Shanyan interrupted suddenly. Her intentions were obvious, she didn't want to implicate Yang Kai because of her own affairs. You got it. Hearing this, Yao Changjun directly ignored Yang Kai, and instead looked at Lu Shanyan with burning eyes. Lu Shanyan was a little terrified by his intimidating gaze, and nodded uneasily, yes. Which position? Yao Changjun asked anxiously. Lu Shanyan was taken aback for a moment, and looked at Yang Kai with a puzzled expression. Because Yang Kai also asked this question just now, but she was interrupted by Pang Guang before she had time to answer, and now Yao Changjun asked again, could it be that there are other treasures where this thing appeared? Otherwise why are they asking this question? Although she was puzzled in her heart, she didn't dare to neglect, and said hastily, it's a place deep in Lonely Void Ridge. Sure enough, it's Jiksu Ridge. Yao Changjun gritted his teeth and drank, as if he had expected it. His face changed for a while, and he shouted in a deep voice, if I let you go again, maybe I can find the location. Lu Shanyan said, I don't really remember the way. Trash. Yao Changjun became angry when he heard the words, and the surging imperial prestige suppressed Lu Shanyan as if it were real. At this moment, Yang Kai suddenly made a move. This old monster Yao Changjun is definitely not easy to get along with, and this person is so moody. He seems to be a cruel guy, relying on his own cultivation level. He doesn't care about other people's lives at all. It doesn't matter if he wants to find Lu Shanyan to find out the origin of Shensho Budianlian, the worst thing is to take him there. I'm afraid that this old guy will kill people if he runs out of use. Yang Kai estimated that he would do this in all likelihood. So at the moment when his mind was furious, Yang Kai knew that the opportunity had come. The law of space suddenly fluctuated, and the surrounding space suddenly solidified, and with the snap of Yang Kai's fingers, several huge moon blades attacked Yao Changjun. Yao Changjun was in a rage. How could he think that Yang Kai would dare to take the initiative to attack him? In his mind, it would be good for a kid at the third level of Dao origin to keep calm in front of him, and dare to attack him. So this was completely unexpected. The pitch-black moonblade quickly hit Yao Changjun, threatening to chop him into pieces. Yao Changjun did not change his face, and sneered continuously, "The boy wants to die." When the words fell, he stretched out his hand and grabbed the moon blade. The invincible moon blade was grabbed by him, then pinched fiercely, and directly shattered, and even Yang Kai's space law was completely smoothed under the powerful power of Emperor Prestige. The power of space. Yao Changjun showed a look of surprise, looked at Yang Kai in surprise, and said, "You are interesting, Li Wuyi, who are you?" "It's your uncle." When Yang Kai yelled angrily, the world-exterminating demon eye had already opened, and within the golden vertical kernel, the secret technique of lotus life was leisurely displayed, and the power of the soul rushed out, blasting into Yao Changjun's mind. Yao Changjun never thought that Yang Kai would dare to use the soul secret technique to deal with him. After all, the difference in cultivation between the two is too great. Under normal circumstances, it is impossible for the weaker side to use the soul secret technique to attack the stronger side, because doing so it is easy to be backlashed and self-destructed. But Yang Kai did just that. What makes Yao Changjun even more uneasy is that this is still his biggest weakness now. Yang Kai seemed to have known this for a long time, so he didn't have the slightest fear, and directly used an extremely powerful divine soul secret technique. Yao Changjun was hit in an instant, the sea of consciousness defense was torn apart, severe pain came from his head, he covered his head with his hands and shouted, his source of power was uncontrollable, and he ran around violently. "Let's go." When Yang Kai shouted in a low voice, he had already reached out and grabbed the jade box in Yao Changjun's hand, and directly snatched back the robbed Shensho Budianlian, and then, without any delay, grabbed the jade box. Lu Shanyan, who lives there, has space power lingering around his side, teleporting away. Boom! Just as the two left, the Yuding tea house collapsed. Yao Changjun's raging energy turned into the shape of a dragon and a tiger, and unconsciously bombarded everything around him. A large number of warriors drinking tea in the tea house were killed and injured instantly, and countless shops on the street collapsed. A dozen or so streets away, Pang Guang, who got up in a panic, looked at this side with a pale face, and said in a broken voice, "Emperor Senior Level 3. He hadn't found out Yao Changjun's specific cultivation level before, but now under the violent disturbance of Fang Yuanli, it is clear at a glance how advanced his cultivation level is. The landlord of this Yuding tea house is actually a strong person at the level of Emperor Zun's third level." Pang Guang suddenly became restless. He is the lord of Gaocheng, and he didn't know that there was such a top powerhouse hidden in the city he was in charge of, which already made him panic, and secretly rejoiced that he hadn't been provoked before. What made Pang Guang even more unbelievable was, who on earth hurt Yao Changjun? Judging from his roar at the moment and his current state, it is clear that he is seriously injured. Could it be that young man? This is also impossible, that young man is only at the third level of Daoyuan, even if Yao Changjun stood still and let him fight, it is impossible for him to be injured. Could it be that Yao Changjun is not the only one who is strong at the third level of Emperor Zun in Gaocheng? Thinking of this, Pang Guang's face suddenly turned pale, and he became suspicious. "Boy, you dare to sneak attack on this old man, you are dead, this old man will never let you go." A roar came from the ruins of the tea house. After Yang Kai fled in the direction, he chased after him, his figure was as fast as lightning. He is a dignified third-layer emperor, but he was injured by a surprise attack by Yang Kai. Where will his face be put when the rumors spread out? He secretly swore that he must catch Yang Kai and tell him to experience the torture in the world, so as to relieve the hatred in his heart. In the blink of an eye, Yao Changjun disappeared. Pang Guang stood on the spot for a while, pondering with a gloomy expression, then his body flickered and flew out of the city. Judging by his appearance, he was going after Yao Changjun and Yang Kai, and he didn't know what he was thinking. Outside the city, Yang Kai continued to use the power of space, and Lu Shanyan was held in his arms for more than 10 miles in a flash, until now he has not recovered, and the whole person is in a daze. Yang Kai actually injured that Yao Changjun, and judging from the situation, it seemed that he was injured with the power of spiritual consciousness. How is this possible? Everything she saw today completely overturned her cognition, making her wonder if she was dreaming. Where is the lonely void ridge? Yang Kai felt the murderous intent behind him constantly approaching him, and asked hastily. Although he is proficient in the power of space, if he escapes with Lu Shanyan, it will take a lot of effort to teleport every time. If this continues, Yao Changjun will catch up sooner or later. With Yao Changjun's strength, he is powerless to resist. Now he can only go to Jiksu Ridge first, hoping to use the terrain there to get rid of Yao Changjun. He heard from Lu Shanyan just now that the depths of Jixu Ridge are extremely dangerous. Over there. Hearing this, Lu Shanyan subconsciously pointed in one direction. After all, she had also stayed in Gaocheng for a few years, so she was familiar with the surrounding environment like the palm of her hand. Yang Kai immediately changed direction and headed towards the lonely void ridge. Senior brother. Although Lu Shanyan was held in Yang Kai's arms, she still felt cold all over, because the clear murderous intent behind her was getting closer and closer, and she could feel it clearly. You run by yourself, this time I'm the one who hurt you. I hurt him once, do you think he will let me go? Yang Kai replied lightly, since you call me senior brother, I can't ignore you, don't worry, running away is my strength. Seeing his insistence, Lu Shanyan could only lick her red lips, feeling moved. Speaking of which, she was able to get acquainted with Yang Kai at the beginning, and she was not acquainted with each other. Later, she spent a long time in the Jade Feather sect, but after escaping from the Jade Feather sect, Yang Kai was able to divide the things in his ring. Half of it was given to her, and this time when she saw Yang Kai, she stood up for her everywhere, making her feel warm in this strange star world. Even in the great wilderness starfield back then, no one treated her so well. After living for so many years, it was the first time she met someone who could take care of herself like this. With their bodies pressed together, Lu Shanyan gradually felt that the permeating murderous intent was no longer so cold. Instead, as time passed, her body felt a little hot. She panicked, quickly diverted her attention, and asked casually, Senior brother, is Yao Chengjun really a third-layer emperor? Replacement is fake, then how could you hurt him? Lu Shanyan looked puzzled. Logically speaking, with such a big difference in cultivation, no matter what methods Yang Kai used, it was impossible to hurt Yao Chengjun, but in fact Yang Kai did. When it arrived, Yao Chengjun's painful roar was obviously not fake. Because there is a crack in his sea of consciousness. Yang Kai said, he has definitely suffered a severe trauma, otherwise with my current cultivation base, if I rashly attack him with the soul secret technique, I will suffer backlash and I will be crippled even if I don't die. How did you know? Lu Shanyan shocked Yang Kai into a heavenly man. After all, this matter was too unbelievable. Yang Kai and Yao Chengjun didn't know each other before. How did he know Yao Chengjun's secret? There is a crack in the sea of consciousness, this is definitely Yao Chengjun's biggest secret, otherwise he would not hide his name in this Gaocheng, he hides here, obviously he is afraid that his enemies will come to him. Yang Kai smiled slightly and said, the reason why he cares so much about Shensho Budianlian is naturally because he wants to restore the sea of consciousness. Lu Shanyan suddenly said, the elixir was originally called Shensho Budianlian. Brother, do you mean that this elixir has the effect of repairing the sea of consciousness? Pure Shensho ski-budding lotus naturally doesn't have this kind of effect. Yang Kai pondered for a moment, and explained to her, if this plant you got is used for alchemy, it can be refined into Shensho Tianbudian pill, which can repairing the broken meridian and dantian is of great effect to those warriors who have been seriously injured. However, Shensho Budianlian has another name called Budian Bingdilian. Yihei, if you can get all of them, you can refine the Bingdi Budian pill, which is a higher level of existence than the Shensho Budian pill. It can not only repair the broken meridians and dantian of a warrior, but also repair the soul, can expand the sea of consciousness, and under the intersection of yin and yang, it can also make people understand the law of the source. To be continued. This text is provided by the Dawn Update group at Xianshu Gongzi. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote recommendation tickets, monthly tickets, your support is my biggest motivation.